we are trying to cover like very broad topic in this shuffling thing, and includes the history and the agenda that the fucking cutting shapers have, I guess, because it's hard not to see. And for me, it kind of started with a drama because Polish shufflers went to TSL or SWC, whatever they call it, Shuffle World Cup, something like that. I guess they have different names also for it because some wrote different things. But I mean, to be a little bit more specific, uh, so yeah, they went to this tournament and they kind of got disqualified, I would say, because because they were dancing shuffling on shuffling tournament, and and that's how the drama kind of started there. So they were really disappointed, came back home, and one guy just posted like a whole thread about it, like what happened and what he's disappointed about and stuff like that. And basically, they said that, I mean, the Spanish shufflers, if we can call them like that, they said that, this is just Polish kind of, rambling, and we're saying bullshit because, you know, we are just hating in general. And there's a lot of stuff going on. For example, one Marbiik, I think, he's telling people that, for example, shuffling didn't originate in Australia, which is not true. And also, I figure out that by talking to people that um, they earn a lot of money on this tournament, and it seems like they're just, like their friends are the judges, and they're pretty much winning the tournaments all the time. But they invite other people, so it's kind of like, scamming people, not also by, not being fair in judging, but also having kind of agenda with the cutting shape thing, because they're saying pretty much that, shuffling is not shuffling. What they are doing is shuffling, and it's not. It's very broad topic, I think. There's a lot of details also, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it pretty much at this
Mhm.
point. You know, I mean, yeah,
Um,
that's it from me.
so I went to TSL. I've been to TSL the last 2 years, and
So
in
you've been there
regard,
twice, right? Okay.
yeah, been there twice.
Okay.
I was really curious as to traveling outside. It was the first time I traveled outside of my country and met up with shufflers. I had followed so many people, seen their dance, seen what they were doing, and I was just so curious to like submerge myself into their community, their culture. And PSL, last year it was such a beautiful experience. It brought a lot of people together that I had never seen in my life. And it was kind of like a shock to just experience in general, as well as like the style that they do. And then like as last year progressed, I got closer to people from Spain and went to Germany with them and just kind of like kept in contact, and got to know a lot of European shufflers. And then this year when I went and that stuff happened, um, it was interesting how it happened. It also was interesting how this year was a little bit different than last year, which is normal. Like events can't always be the same. Um, I did see both arguments under that post, or I think it was Zigzag,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I saw what he meant with his point. I wish that I would have seen uh, his preliminary round, but like he said, it was after the break, and um, I do think that maybe next year or for the years ahead, preliminary rounds could be like a day before the tournament, just to like if there's going to be that many shufflers in one space, a full day of that stuff is definitely going to be very tiring, especially if you're trying to like stick to like a very tight schedule and harness that many dancers in one space. I do think they work very, very hard to curate an event that is meant to showcase a dance, is meant to bring people together and express the love for their dance. The floor was slippery, but like, you know, it doesn't matter where we're dancing sometimes. Like, I don't know. I
It's
see
Yeah.
both
something
sides.
you've had to adjust to since the beginning of the
Yeah.
dance. That's
Yeah.
that's why Telcom powder existed for the dance, is because the floors were too sticky. So it's
Mhm.
always been a problem. It's either too sticky or too slippery.
Or too slippery. Yeah, there's no in between, I feel like sometimes, unless you got like baby powder. Like I wish I would have seen his preliminary round. Like I said, I saw it on a video. Um, and he was shuffling. I think there was an argument that he wasn't putting creativity in it or like something. I
Yeah.
Just his
didn't.
post, just his post
Yeah.
alone, not just the entire event, all the drama and everything. It's
Yeah.
yeah, just his topic alone was pretty loaded, and the after results too, like Marbiik then doing the follow up battle, and I mean you can go into a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, Kayam's comment is probably worth mention, considering I ratioed the shit out of him, and I kind of felt bad. Like, I wish he was making a better point, but even Marbiik messaged him, and he's like, "Why are you talking like this?" And so and so. And Marbiik told me that himself, so he was being quite out of line and a bit, too far too far extreme with his beliefs, I suppose. But same thing happens on the other side as well. There's some
Mhm.
shufflers that are way too hardline, like dogmatic with their style choices and even the way that they would dance and how limited creativity people add. But when it comes to doing away with the foundations in the name of creativity, it's not the way to do it, because evolution of the dance, that's why I even made that mention in the comment, but the evolution of the dance, and I don't like saying the word traditionally because then like they refer to it as, oh, it's the old guard, it's the passing of the torch. No, it's always evolved. It's just evolved from other styles. So when someone else picked up something else, that's how it came to be. We've got the genetic tree, we've shown the shuffle timeline, like say not even mentioning them all, but let's just say from Melbourne Shuffle to Hardstyle Shuffle to Malaysian Shuffle, then the Malaysians influenced America and the rest of the world as well, and the Americans picked up Malaysian more so over Melbourne, and then they created Cali style. Russians, they again picked up bits and pieces from both hardstyle and Malaysian as well, and then they created their own variations in style. And every single style we've had added to the dance, and same goes for shapes. Every single style has brought new additional moves that fit within the foundations of that style. Not every style even does the running man. So the foundations is like those have changed over the years, but the agreed upon foundations for the better part of 20 something years now has been the T-step, aka the shuffle step, and the running man.
Mhm.
So if there's an absence of either of those things for more than 50% of someone's run, that's when you're questioning, is this really shuffling still or is this freestyle dance? And that's kind of what we've been trying to express to these people the entire time that are pushing it more in the direction of hip hop and crump. You've got joking comments saying not enough jump style when there's no jump style to be seen at all. Well, why aren't we mixing dances like jump style or gabba or muzzing or tectonic or things that have been involved with EDM and rave culture before, and they've intermelded, and those scenes have been involved, as Samurai can attest to. The startings of the shuffle scene in Poland was greatly part thanks to jump style. They catered for them to have meetups. There was a jump style community that gave them a platform to even be a thing. So when people will shit on other rave dancers and then favor street dances that have no relation to the culture or the beliefs of the dance that have been all the way to this day, that's where it starts to irk me.
I think that's where culture for specific regions comes into play
Big
because
time.
yeah, like big time. And that's something that I don't think we're trying to downplay by having this discussion either.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish more people could be open to seeing that there's many, many points to be looked at and just like blended. Um, yeah, here, and I can only speak for my belief of it, I feel like it's been more represented as a street dance here, especially in our battle culture. We have Cali and New York, two very, very like potent places of dancers and culture rich in their own specific and unique thing. And once I visited both of them separately, I really got to see like, okay, the street culture is from experience, like social experience, and that's just how they have begun to express themselves and what they speak in their story and their dance. And for the raves here, our raves aren't like European raves. Our raves are just these little things
No.
that like. So I think it's just I can totally see how adding in hip hop and crump and more of street styles within shuffling is more on that side. And then we have jump style muzzing, everything else that's more rave dance, and we aren't really touching into that like at all. Um, but they definitely do that in Spain from what I see. Like they tap into all styles within their shuffling. Um, but yeah,
But it's a
but he's
matter of
still.
then is like, uh, you know, jack of all trades but master of none. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the concept that was raised by a few people saying, they were complaining about the lack of running man. For me, I care more about seeing more Tstep, but everyone to each their own. But even then, if there's a lack of running man, is it because of their inability to make a clean one? And that's kind of something that you even expressed, saying that when you were last there, you had a lot of people request you to teach a Melbourne Shuffle class or workshop, and same with Malaysian. They were saying, "Oh, how do you do this Malaysian running man?" Like ever since they've started to see certain people start to adopt some of the older moves and styles, they've gone to them rather than the people that actually created them or even sharing the resources of that. And that's, I mean, yourself, I know that you do that. You would say, oh, if you want to learn, like if I can't teach you something, you can learn more from so and so, or you can go and watch this. Like
Mm-hmm.
you'd be the type to do that. So there is some though that will teach an entire style of something that they're not well versed in, and then they won't provide their students with the resources and materials that they can then go home and study with. That they can
Yeah,
essentially do their own homework because they're not just going to be shuffling when they're doing your class. So
yeah,
if you're only providing yourself as like the core of that style to then learn from, they're only going to be learning your style of dance too, and
mm-hmm.
they're just going to be copying, and that's where I don't like where shuffling's got quite formulaic in that regard, like how it's so choreographed these days rather than people just, you can tell when someone's trying too hard now rather than just letting something flow naturally, and that's kind of how we've always done it. I think
Yeah,
if you're thinking too much about what you got to do next, you're doing it wrong. Let
yeah.
the music
There's
tell you what to
definitely,
do.
mhm. There's definitely been a sense of pressure that I think comes from competitions and dancing competitively. Um, yeah, like when I was in Spain and I went to Madrid, uh, and I was being asked about Cali style. I'm not well versed in Cali style, educated on the technique or how to like fundamentally break it down. And so all I could do was show them what I viewed it as and how I felt it. And they had one female express to me that she had never seen someone do it before, like in real life, and she had always watched it on Instagram but had never seen it. And so I think there's just a lack of um, like other people coming together. Like, because Spain is huge. There's so many Spanish shufflers, and they all just blend together so well. But when someone from the States comes over and like they're so interested, it's always been Spain and United States that have just a lot to say to each other. and to finally be submersed within their culture and like start speaking with our dance, like it got through to them, and theirs got through to us too. Like I was asking people how to do some shape moves, so it definitely was, we were bouncing off of each other. But I do think that the resources that I could potentially point people into the direction of, or point them into the direction of learning more about, and like learning it like authentically and with true resource, I do think that should be globally like important in the same manner. Like if you guys are doing this work to share these resources with people, and you have lived and experienced that is a raw experience and have like your own experience from it, I do think there should be like a push for just putting the information out there more, because at the end of the day, like we can't change if someone chooses to take that information or not, but we can place it there in case people want to, which that comes into play too. Like it's a shame not everyone wants to look at this, study it, adapt it, and blend it into their own. But as long as it's there, I feel like that's kind of all that can happen. Um, but yeah, Spain specifically, there's such well-versed dancers in my opinion, and they do bring a lot of all styles into their round. Like in my round, I felt like if I were to just shuffle, it would not slide. Like I don't know, there's like a wow factor that I feel like has to be done when people are doing such intricate footwork, which I respect so much. But when people are doing such intricate footwork, dabbling into all styles of all types of things, um, I don't know, for a shuffle tournament, in my perspective, I just felt like I had to like do something outside of my bubble. But I don't know, I guess then the whole topic of like, well, you should adapt as a dancer, and there's just like so many ways to look at this, but
I think
goodness gracious.
United States has a lot of the same issues from my own experiences even. When I went to Escape Festival in 2019, it was the most shufflers I've ever seen in one location in my life, like ever. And that's like because Australia is not a big country, like we're like 26 million population or something, like tiny. But I'd never seen battles at an event like that. The only time I'd ever seen battles in person, even in real life, was like if we hosted meetups or something as underage shufflers. The only time we saw battles was underage kids. So that was complete, like, what the fuck? It was kind of like almost had that underage festival vibe to it at times. Not all the time, but at times it did kind of remind me of that kind of a vibe that because I went to a few growing up as well. I don't know. For me, I'm not really into competitive shuffling. I don't. We've culturally in Melbourne, we've never really agreed with using the dance to belittle someone else's dance. We've always used the dance to uplift everyone else's. Like, if we seen like Matt, we always herald as a goat of rocking, for example, and people would always aspire to try and one up Matt or to even try and learn what he did because most people couldn't even do that. So I just think there's definitely wealth in the knowledge that's available. It's just a matter of whether or not people want to share that. And
Yeah,
we're
I
not
might
telling
add
people to
something to
just
it.
shuffle. Like we're not telling people, and this gets put in our mouths all the time. We're not telling everyone you should shuffle like Matt, you should shuffle like Hiltzy. We're not fucking saying that. We're not even saying you should just shuffle like rockers. We're just saying if you're going to claim these titles, make sure that you're sharing the correct information. You can go. Sorry, sorry, Samurai.
No, no, you're making some great points. I didn't want to disturb you. Yeah, but I might add something to it, like from my own personal experience, I guess, because Auto made some great points also. And I guess I will start like, because when I started shuffling, there was no tutorials available on internet at all. Like I literally just watched the Mickey's and Hiltzy and they watched from copying them pretty much, and there was no tutorials. And then we had like a forum, and everybody was posting their videos. And when you posted, somebody commented like what you should do and what you should do not, basically. And also we had battling since the start, but it was competitive, but it never was about like being the best, kind of. You know what I mean? It was fun. It was for fun pretty much. And when we had those meetups, we were battling and all this stuff. And what is weird for me, like in this topic, because I was I was living in New York for some time, for 2 years, and like there's some, how you say it, I mean cultural differences, I guess, because in Poland, I it's like you go to meetup and people want to teach you, like the knowledge is free. Everyone wants to dance, and everyone wants to teach you dance, you know. And when I was in New York, I saw like even the problem with tutorials. Like I get it, like people don't wanna make tutorials because it's, you know, kind of putting yourself at a spot, because people will be definitely saying some shit against you, or something else, that you're not that good, you shouldn't make tutorials, and etc. You know. And that's, I guess, what happened in Poland, because nobody ever thought that they are this good to make tutorials, but when you met them in person, he could actually teach you, but never, no one ever like was saying that he's the best or whatever. But in New York, what I see the differences are that people wanted to benefit from teaching people or making tutorials. Like even now, I feel like if you ask anybody from Polish community to do tutorial, they will do it like for free. You don't even pretty much have to ask them.
Same
But
goes
if
for
you
Melbourne. That's
ask
how it's always been.
yeah, like, but if you ask a guy from, I don't know, United States, I don't want to be like fucking, against United States or whatever, but I feel like they always want to benefit from it in some kind of way, that it's like all the credit have to go to them, and maybe, have to pay some money, not for free. And when I was in New York, some people came up to me and wanted to learn, and obviously I told them, but I was with other friends that were, like kind of gatekeeping the information, which was fucking weird, like, because I never had this kind of contact, like, with this kind of issue, like. That was just very weird for me, that people want to gatekeep information, like, for no reason at all, like,
Other than, well, to protect their bottom line at the end of the day. If they're selling a product and there's something out there that is the real deal, so they're selling a counterfeit product essentially, and the real deal's out there, and people could see the real deal's out there, and it doesn't cost anything, or even it's
yeah.
available at a fraction of the price at one stage. At one point in time, We Dance Hard made DVDs. I mean, they're still talked about as grails to this day, but that's beside the point. That's, film production, everything that went into all of that, that was an entire thing. And even then, it was still at a cheaper price point. I believe you could buy all three DVDs at the time for like $35 shipped. So, I mean, that's still cheaper, and that's like hours, tens of hours of content, far more content than what most people are offering now for north of $100. So
You know
that's
what?
that's the issue.
Also in Poland, it was very weird that anybody like would earn money on teaching shuffling. Like being a dance instructor, obviously is a job, right?
Hmm.
But like teaching shuffling, which is mind blowing. Like earning money on that, like was crazy. Like people were criticizing other people if they actually paid money for learning or teaching shuffling in Poland, like not long time ago. And right now there are some studios and people are teaching other people shuffling and all those rave dances like jump style and some other, I don't really remember. But yeah, like in 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 different countries in Poland, it's just, it's so different that it's crazy to me basically. That's what I want to say.
It was a foreign, very foreign concept for Melbourne as well, to think that you could, like, quote, make a career out of shuffling. Like as you said, man, it's something we've always just passed on. If someone I meet or even a friend or whoever wants to learn has approached me and like, how do you do that? I will literally. There's been times too, and I've got the videos I could show, but there's been times where like I've been in the middle of something, even like at my work or
Okay.
like at my dad's, something like this, like doing something in the middle of something, and I'll get a message from someone, oh, can you teach me this? And I'll just stop what I'm doing, put the phone down, quickly record it. Takes me not even a minute, and then I send it over to him. I'm like, yeah, that's how you do it. Bang. It's that
Yeah,
simple. Like what? That's going to cost me how
exactly.
much money? And they get the understanding within a 1 minute tutorial because it was just asking for one move. So if they're selling these rocking tutorials and completely changing what it even means, like that's where the issues start to rise. It's one thing for people to make a career out of shuffling because people want to pay to learn. Like that does exist. I understand people want to pay, and if that's the case, then so be it. There's a free market. But if you're going to take up the title of professional shuffler or even a professional dance teacher for that matter, be fucking professional.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
don't
Yeah,
mean to cuss, but I am Australian. It's kind of just it just slips like that. But seriously, I mean that. You have to be professional. If you're going to say you're a professional shuffler or a professional dance teacher, be a professional. You
Yeah.
have an obligation as a quote teacher to teach
Yeah.
your students the correct information. If I,
Yeah.
when I was in a school teaching students, if I brought my personal agendas or political worldviews and all these things into my class text and tried to put that into the curriculum and indoctrinate students and change, oh, so and so made this and XYZ was created on the moon, my job would be gone and my career as a teacher would be completely erased. So you you have an obligation to teach people the correct information. If you can't do it, at the very minimum, pass on the information as to where the hell you learnt this from.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay,
No,
I
that's
got some short stuff ready. Uh, opposite, I guess it's a very hard topic for me because Gaara, I guess, is more open-minded to things, but I'm very
I
conservative. Like
Yeah, no, yeah, no,
in this case, I'm
I
very
hear you're
conservative.
hyper conservative, but I like honestly that's mostly the people I'm sort of associated with. I'm trying to play the neutral field as much as I can, but I will not stand for when people are pushing blatant agendas, using nepotism in in things that's costing like it's really bad, really negative consequences, even for people that go on and win these tournaments. Like this isn't just an Australian issue. I've talked about it directly to Marbiik, and I said it to Autumn the last time about Shuffle Royale and the consequences of that. I mean, I could go over it again now, but we'll talk about it another time. We'll make a post about it or something. But either way, the consequences of that was negative for just about everyone that participated, even that hosted it. So if if I can learn from the history of where biased judging has destroyed a scene, I just if I can pass that information on, be like, look, if you keep going this direction, this is going to happen. It will die. And we've heard it from many people. They're experiencing burnout now from battles in general. Like, man, it's getting too much. And they're pushing, you can tell it's a push to go in a certain direction, and it genuinely is making people to get completely disenfranchised, not just with the scene, but with the dance. It's making making some people change dances.
Yeah,
I
there's
think
even
it's
an explanation. Like, oh, sorry. Now you go ahead. I just want. Fuck. I mean, I have explanation like why Poland is pushing back against Spanish shuffling because we are very conservative, even like in real life, like politics and all the stuff. Like Poland is very conservative, and you know, we always were teaching people that, shuffling is from Melbourne and all that stuff. And I guess because they went there and seen what they're doing and what they're teaching, kind of made them angry. And that's why Zigzag made this post. Like, there's only one explanation. Like, and those are new people. Like, I had no connection to them. I mean, I have no connection to them. Like, because I have a huge break for like 5 years, and this is the first thing I see. And last time I basically made a break. My post was about the same thing, that people are, mixing, cutting shapes and all that stuff. And I'm coming back, and this is the first thing I see, that Polish people are mad about something. So yeah, that's it.
I was gonna say, I think it was stemming off of Gaara, what you were just talking about, but I literally forgot what you were just talking about. But it was
Oh,
like,
sorry.
no, I loved what you were just saying too. It's, yeah, so
Yeah, cool
there's always
story.
something, sorry, there's always something going on, and it is like, oh, like, I think some people, I've seen some people just be like, oh, it's just more drama. But I feel like there comes a point where we need to talk to each other and we need to start speaking about these things that are controversial or things that have different opinions from different places. Um, and I think that's what I commented down in that post too. I was like, all right, everyone, let's just gather around, get together, and just like talk about this, because it's good that this is being expressed. Like, I'm happy that he made that post. I'm happy that like the Spanish people like spoke back. Like, I'm just glad that there's commotion happening, because that's where we're going to get to the root of things. That's where we're going to be able to just understand and hear each other. And even if we don't agree, I think it's necessary that we like continue to keep talking to one another. But I think, branching off of what you were saying, Gaara, for battle culture specifically, it's definitely it's definitely evolving in different ways in both Spain and the States, like drastically different. And that's one thing that, like, one of the reasons why I went over there was to like see what's up with the battle culture, see their competition culture, and just all that. Um, and all I can really say is just culture really has a real genuine play on why people dance the way that they do and why they view it the way that they do. Um, but
I
like,
have a question to you, Autumn, also.
yeah, what's
Like,
up?
obviously, because they want to create like a World Shuffling Cup, right? So they
Yeah,
want to like set up some common ground, and basically, like, it, if you go there,
Mad
you
invite,
kind of
by the way.
agree. Yeah. Yeah. So basically they everybody have to, like, when you go there you have to agree to the rules, right? But at this point every country have something different going, right?
yeah.
And what do you think, like how it's
I
gonna
love this
get
question.
fixed pretty much?
I love,
Huh?
love this question. Um, so yeah, if like everyone is looking at it differently, everyone is like literally doing things completely different. Uh, I feel like I have so much to say, but I don't know how to
Yeah.
say it. It's
You
like,
know, it's a very hard topic too, because obviously there are some not only cultural differences, but also there is some, like, for me, it's very hard not to say they have some agenda, but this is like very, my own personal stuff.
yeah,
But obviously, like, it's very hard to create plays where it gathers like a lot of backgrounds and
yeah.
everybody agrees on something, and it's, I don't know, like, it's very hard topic for me. And I just was wondering, like, what do you think? Because I feel like there's always gonna be some pushback from Poland, because
Mhm.
we just made this kind of way. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, um, like when putting yourself into a competition, when putting yourself into an experience where you're going to be shuffling competitively, you kind of are going ahead and like signing yourself up to be with that specific place's organization, their event, what they put on from their perspective, from their culture, from their everything. And like, even with Polish dancers being in Spain, like they went and they represented Poland. They went and represented the culture and the expression that they learned from Poland, just as United States, just as every other country did. And it does get a little tricky when we don't necessarily know if everyone is on the same page um, with what is important during a round or what is important during dancing. What even, like, do we even look at foundation the same? Like, do we even know what foundation is? Like, what are we doing? I feel like it's been so blended and there's not been like a consensus of like, if you running man and Tstep during all of your round, is that enough? Are they going to be able to see, like, are others going to be able to see the creativity that you put into the effort of your shuffling? Or, and like, I can also look at it as in like the Spanish dancers, like, that's their creativity that they put into their shuffling, and that is shuffling to them. So it's like, I'm always like in the middle. I'm just like, I can only sit like this because I'm like, I see these two sides to everything, even though I don't agree with everything. I feel like we're never going to be able to like figure it out, if that was like your question, like figure out what to do
Yeah.
about it, other than like maybe just keep putting resources out there about, like, I don't know, I feel like we're a tree and many people look at it as umbrella, and that's fine, but for me, I feel like I'm from the roots up, and if my roots are not nourished, my branches are not going to go in all the ways that they possibly can. My creativity's not going to submerge. Like, everything's just going to be like, and like if my roots are not nurtured, I feel like I'm just not going to grow the way that I could, if that makes sense. And I feel like there's some other communities or other cultures that are just planting a whole other seed, but saying it's the same tree.
Yeah, you
Like,
can't just splice another plant onto the tree and say that it's oh, it's growing. No, you've just spliced
Yeah.
another plant onto the fucking tree. It's not growing.
Also, I it's when you create something like this, because obviously they wanna create like place that where everybody have to like can gather and dance there and compete.
yeah,
It's like who whose value and input is more important, because
yeah,
yeah, like because obviously they don't want to listen to guys from Australia
Yeah,
that
I don't like
created
to
this
even
dance, you know?
I don't even like to harp on and say, oh, everyone should listen to the OGs, everyone should listen to Australia. No, I'm just saying listen to history. Like literally learn from the mistakes that have already happened. If we want to talk about how to fix this, I said to you on the last call when I was talking about when you were 2022 Battlegrounds, and I was
mm,
proposed a question by Lefty Sky, and he said, so what do you think? And I said to him, be honest with you, I don't need to like what I see to appreciate that it exists. So for me, I can appreciate any shuffle scene around the world simply for the fact that I don't have one in Australia anymore.
yeah,
Melbourne's shuffle scene and Sydney's shuffle scene have been gone for quite a long time, and both of them for each of their own reasons. But Sydney's shuffle scene specifically died a painful death due to biased competition. A single one. So that completely disenfranchised an entire new generation of shufflers entirely. And now, like, Sydney was always dominated by Gabba and Hacken, but now it's pretty much just that and muzzing. The, there's probably you could count them on one hand how many shuffles they got left. And the same goes for Melbourne. I've had a kid hit me up recently who only just hit 18 a few years ago, and he's like, "Bro, where's all the rockers? Where's the hard dance, hard trance?" I'm like, "Sorry, man, it's gone. What you got left now is this muzzing and if that, most people don't even dance in Melbourne anymore. I don't know. I haven't been back for 3 years, so I don't like to talk on it and belittle it too much. But I don't have too many good things to say much about the scene that's left there now. So that's like I said, I don't have to like what I see to appreciate that it exists. So that's why I'm as passionate as I am about it. I'm on record multiple times saying I don't care about competitive shuffling in battles. I'm not about it, but I don't want to see these scenes die to the same fucking mistakes that ours did. That's all I'm trying to
do
express. Like,
I do
why would
think
I have an investment in the thing, whether it dies or not? I don't care. Like, but
yes.
I care enough to not see it disappear.
Yeah. And
We can't have
uh,
bias. Yeah, we can't have biased judges. If we want to fix basically the TLDR to that, the solution is variety.
yes.
If you want to say that about creativity and the evolution of the dance, well, there's plenty of styles and shufflers for that matter that people have not studied from all walks of the world. I don't know enough
Mhm.
about China. I don't know enough about Russia. I mean, I've watched Cali over the years, but I still don't even know probably 80% of the shufflers in America for that matter. Like, everyone has their own preferences. I understand that, but if you're going to be, saying something like the Shuffle World Cup, you need to be well versed amongst the entire fucking dance. It's shuffle, all right? That's a very broad-reaching umbrella term nowadays. We've got cutting shapes being considered a shuffle and everything like this. We've even done that with the timeline. So if you're going to be hosting something like this, if you're not capable of that knowledge, bring someone on who is, because they know, they know, they know who they can contact, and you know whether or not you were personally invited is one thing. You may or may not have been, but I can tell quite a lot of people were personally invited, and that's when we say like, they don't state that there's an agenda, but it's just what we're starting to perceive when it's consistent trending things and the same exact people every single time doing these things. So really, at the end of the day, I'm against a bias, an agenda pushing, and
There's a pattern.
yeah, literally.
They do harp specifically on it being a shuffle experience, and it is an experience indeed if we're still speaking about TSL. And I think that the most that shufflers have nowadays to gather around and even like shuffle together end up being tournaments and end up being these things that we put competition into. So we're learning and socializing together as we're also competing with each other, which that's something that could be looked into too. And I think that's why we are the way that we are now and so ready to battle all the time or like doing like a showcase or a competition. Um, as far as people being personally invited, I can't say that I think that. I think people are personally invited, like, hey, you want to come out, or like, hey, this is happening.
hmm
I do think that it's like,
I mean, it's marketing 101. I understand they're going to be
yeah,
contacting and
yeah,
inviting people. I understand that, but I'm saying that it's pretty blatant when they're not inviting very specific dancers within the entire shuffle world community. I mean, whether or not, like, so Luha, not to put words in his mouth, but he did say his opinion on it is he thinks that they've held grudges for all the years that shufflers said shapes isn't shuffling. So whether or not they're still holding on to that, it's pretty petty in my opinion. But who knows what it is? We
Yeah,
just
those are just like
the
very
facts
broad
that are on
accusations.
paper, like what was it? The top 32 was all
yeah,
friends with the judges. I mean, that's what I'm saying, where we can point at nepotism, and not just like pushing an agenda bias, but literal nepotism. And when people are bringing up someone's accolades, like, oh, so and so's won this, this, and this, well, as Samurai mentioned earlier, what does that really mean when all of those things were held by your friends? So, put yourself out somewhere else in the world. Like, how about those people go into a Polish shuffle tournament and see how they fare? I can tell you now, it's, as Samurai put it, they value conservative values and traditions within the dance much more than progressive, if people
hmm
can call it that. But as I mentioned before,
Y-
it's splicing another plant onto a plant rather than, as you mentioned, watering the existing plant and creating a new branch, which is what's
yeah,
happened with every single evolutional style within shuffling to date. Not just Melbourne Shuffle, but shapes as well. Each of the styles have gone on to create a branch of their own by someone
Mhm.
else, whether it be in that same country or somewhere else in the world, has then picked up that, copied them, or what they interpret to what they saw. So, and that was the other thing with back in the day in the old videos with YouTube. A lot of what people were seeing there was kind of like an optical illusion, because you had the mixture of the fat pants, the low resolution, and horrible frame rate. Because even the PAL region where we're from in Australia, when we're rendering out things, we actually render it at a slower frame rate too usually. So, I mean, I don't, but that's the national standard. So these these things then
Yeah,
cause
we were
people
doing this too.
to copy. Yeah, exactly. This then causes people to copy something that they weren't actually doing in real life, and then that's gone on to create new styles of its own. So it's a big dance. Evolution isn't anything new. It's just what they're doing isn't evolution. It's genetic mutation.
I
Come on,
can.
I was
That was a good
Don't
example.
say it, bro. We'll get deplatformed. Don't say
That was genetic mutation,
Hey,
not
hey,
GMO.
hey Luha.
Okay,
hey, hello.
hello. How you going?
I just happened because I was talking to a friend here in Brazil because he was able to buy the wrong fucking plane tickets to São Paulo, so I was basically pissing him off for his dumbness, and I decided to just jump here and say hi to you. I don't know if we will be able to join the conversation here, but maybe in about 1 hour or so I'll enter here and join you.
All right. I'll see you then.
Hope you are having some
All right, man.
good time saying the pointing the rotten apples in the community. Okay, be right back.
All right, see ya. I'll be back too then. I'll let you guys go.
Also, I like to what you said before, that we should just nurture like this tree rather than make a new one.
Mhm.
And I like to paint this picture. Like, imagine that you're a new shuffler, right? You just started learning this dance. For example, even Kali, I don't know, whatever you're from, like Russia or whatever, China, and you learn the dance, whatever. And you go to tournament, and this specific tournament, TSL, and you see this stuff, right? And you're feeling like shit. I'm not doing what they're doing, like, and they're making it to finals and whatever. But you still sign up and you get disqualified, and obviously how this person is gonna feel like, because like he saw this dance, he saw videos, tutorials, everything, he read about the history, so it's like they're kind of faking all of it, for me at least. And and if you have this new guy trying to learn this dance, obviously he's gonna see it as some kind of mockery or whatever. Like, he's gonna feel not happy about it, like, because you want to compete, whatever, and you see this. So I feel like new people coming in, to this community and learning this dance are not gonna be very satisfied with what is happening there, because they market it as a, world shuffling cup or whatever,
Yeah.
which, it's hard to even agree on, but whatever.
Yeah.
And if you market it as a world shuffling cup, then, fuck, it just, I can't even express it like very well, because for me
Yeah.
it's just not shuffling. That's it, But how do you explain it to a new guy? Like, how would you explain it, what they are doing, to a new guy that is
Well,
just learning shuffling?
I think the only way that I can talk about this is how, like, putting it in my shoes as to how it felt to experience it for the first time there, when I've only known my way of dancing and shuffling and the way that I perceive it. I don't want to speak as though like they don't recognize amazing dancers and they don't recognize like the craft and like how it can be crafted. Like, some of the people that I've met in Spain have become amazing, amazing friends, amazing dancers, and I've learned a lot from them. But when involving it with the competitive side of things, I do, like I said earlier, I get a little confused on like, is my dance going to translate? Is my dance going to like translate at all? Because sometimes theirs does, but I get confused when we're in like a shuffle tournament, you know, and I know that they
Hmm.
believe their thing and we believe ours, you guys believe yours. And I'm going over there and submersing myself into their creation of their, you know, event. But I can agree with you that if anyone is going to call something Shuffle World Cup, Shuffle Experience, we do have to be on the same page about something that is shuffle. Like I don't know, I think we just could be more like on the same page about foundation and how important it is to put that in a round, because if I'm speaking from someone like you said that like learn to dance, learn to shuffle in one way and then they go to TSL and experience that, I think they're just going to take that as the TSL experience for them and like the experience that Spain offers dancers. Um which I advise everyone to experience for themselves. Honestly, it changed a lot of my perspectives and opened up a lot of different pathways that I would not have thought about as a dancer in general. Um, that's a good question though, like, because I mean, there could be two sides to that. Like, someone could be like, "Oh, suck it up! Like, you entered a competition, better luck next time." Like, this same person could go and enter another competition elsewhere and win it, you know, like it's really just based off of what that country is presenting for their event, what type of style they're presenting. And Spanish style dancers, like they stick true to that, just like Cali does, just like you guys do. Like I do get it though, I get your frustration on the push that they have and the influence that they have and how there's room for a lot more clarity within the foundation of things and just like how we could do better. And I say we is because I always want to include people, but I definitely think that there could be more clarification on what type of tournament it is. Because there's some dancers there that I've seen that are so well versed in other dance styles and can blend it with their shuffling so well, but I feel as though not that they get bored with the running man and Tstep, but they just haven't sat and just done that for like a while. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they
Yeah.
haven't practiced running man and Tstep, but I'm like, there's just so much about that specific craft that I feel like you can find so much creativity in. And you can like, I don't know.
I've made that
You
point
know?
quite a few times that most
Yeah.
people don't explore how far you can be creative with the foundations. And I said it to you on the last call that not
Yeah.
to be biased, being Samurai is my favorite shuffler, and not to blow smoke up his ass
Oh, come
on a
on.
video.
I'm getting
But
red right
seriously, man.
now.
But seriously though, he exemplifies for me what like being creative with the foundations means. And it's not just me that believes that too. TMS Daniels, who was in LA last time I was there with me, he said the same thing about Samurai. He's also his favorite. It's because the if you can be incredibly creative with just the foundations alone, and you know the things that have come along like kicks, spins, hat tricks, like all the tricky arm movements, everything. If you look like you're being funky, I'm fucking down with it. If you're hitting the beat, I'm down with that. That's what
Yeah.
I'm about. I fuck with that harder than most shit. And I'm not someone that just poo-poos on crumping altogether, and neither is Samurai. He's a fan of, you know,
Yeah.
it has its
Like,
place. Like just a lot of the people that are preaching this message and this agenda, they don't even like they had the audacity to comment things like offbeat. on a video where someone missed the beat maybe 3 counts of the entire song. Whereas they're missing about half the fucking counts of the song by doing this weird tricking shit where it doesn't have place within the song. Like the song's still going bum bum bum, and they're going, what? Or they're rolling around on the ground. Like, if the music calls for a spin, you should know that. You should hear it and feel it. Like, if you don't have that with your dancing yet, period, maybe you shouldn't be in the competitive scene. If you have to
That's
go
where
into it and you're just doing choreographed shit that you've drilled over and over again, it's not fitting the song.
yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that. And I think a lot of individuals that um have learned to shuffle strictly from choreo or combos,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a lot harder for them to adapt to, like, I'm not saying that they're not speaking from like freestyle, but like it is going to be a lot harder to tap into that without your muscle memory kicking in, or like your memory kicking in, especially if you're in competition mode. Like sometimes I've been in my rounds and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I don't even know what to do right now. And I just freeze up and I'm like, well, I just dance. And for some people, just doing that is doing choreo that they might have learned or doing this or that. Like I've even talked to one of my friends that specifically learned to shuffle through taking choreography classes. And they like always, they told me like they always want to hit choreos, they always want to do combos, and they're trying to like work their way out of uh, just strictly combos and moving it more to like freestyle and putting their own twist on things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you get into competition mode like that, it's like, yeah, people just gotta dance. We just need to dance. We just need to like be and just like
Mm-hmm.
just dance. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
for me, it's kind of you made great points about the choreography and all the stuff. Like people learn it and then just do it on the competition. And you see, for me, the beautiful thing in shuffling is just that you're basically freestyling the shit out of it, you know? You're just
Mhm.
whatever comes out, it's gonna either be good or shit. So that's what I like about it. And responding to Gaara, thank you for compliments, but I'm whack, bro. And also say to Daniels that if he doesn't respond to my message, I'm gonna fuck him up and find him.
Alright.
And
I'll leave
and
it there.
another thing, yeah. Also, what I wanted to say, for me, shuffling was even when shuffling started, right? Shuffling was dance to very high BPM music, hard style, and all that stuff, right? So shuffling, it's kind of like I can compare it to when a good guy wants to be a gangster, right? Kind of, because I like to dance to happy music, and I'm a very happy guy, but I always wanted to be hard, and I wanted to dance to hard music, basically. And it's and you have all of the stuff that happens on TSL, right? And it's also like the music plays a big role in it, also, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
because like imagine them doing this, what they're doing to hardstyle. Like it's not possible, at least half of it, you know. And
We
shuffling is made for this music. So obviously they're gonna try to slow it down. So it's gonna be, you know, not so good for shuffling, but it's gonna be better for choreography, you know. And also, fuck, I forgot, sorry. But what I wanted to say is that you know what? People just should freestyle it, I guess. That's what I wanted to say. Like,
Yeah. When I heard the music that was playing in my rounds this year, it took me a second to kind of like be like, okay, this is the beat that I can catch on to. This is like, because in order to shuffle the way that I wanted to shuffle, I have to kind of have something going. And it's not like there wasn't something going, but there were just so many other things that I could hear that someone that shapes very well could like hit all that shit. And like they
yeah,
did. Like, my opponent like hit every single sound. And I questioned myself. I was like, am I just not an adaptable dancer at the moment? Like, should I expand my creativity with, you know, other things in my upper body or like this and that? But I do think, yeah, like you're right. Music has a lot to play on it, and I do see that like bass house, just for example, is very, very, very popular because I heard it the entire time I was there. But like
Yeah, they
that
mentioned
type
it to
of
me.
music, yeah, that type of music makes me want to cut shapes. Like it makes me want to move my body in a way that is just like if I'm still doing footwork, if I'm still wanting to shuffle, like it makes me want to do a bunch of intricate footwork. It makes me want to like highlight the sounds, this and that. But if I were to like in my Madrid class, I focus mainly like playing techno, um, and it's just really interesting to see how the music affects people and how the music makes people want to move in different ways. Um, I do hope for TSL that there can be a broader range of music sometime. I know like that's their thing and it's their, their region's tournament, but I think there's a lot of creativity that can be tapped into at high BPM,
Yeah,
like
like
super
on
high
the
BPM.
tournaments we had here, like there was always like different kinds of music or different genres. And obviously you had to adapt, right? Because from to bass house, you have to dance either like maybe a mass or a Cali or whatever.
Yeah.
Because if you do the old school shuffling, like it's gonna look whack as fuck. And it's like they even in this case they favor some kind of music that is making them easy to dance to this kind of music, which is they learn on workshops, choreography and all that stuff. So obviously it's like, I mean, I'm just picking on some things here, but it's like they favor this kind of thing because it's easier for them, not for other people. Even if they make this shuffle tournament for everybody, then at least they should have like different kind of music, right? At least this
I
much.
agree with that. Yeah,
Well,
I
Yeah.
agree.
that's Russia and China, man. How many years now? They're still playing Josh Lang's tracks to this day. He's a producer from my area, like back home.
I just played it yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally, people still listen to Josh Lang still to this day on a pretty regular basis, and a lot of his tracks are used for tournaments because of how fucking well structured they are. The dude was a musical genius. I just wish he was still pumping out tracks, but life goes on and people have families and commitments and things, but he still to this day one of the best music producers you could ever dance to if you want to hit high BPMs and you want to be creative with it. Like you would be a testament to that too, right, Samurai? It's if
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
hit high BPMs and be creative, there is so many good sounds for that in his music. It's incredible.
Also, yeah, also I feel like it makes more things interesting, right? Because if you would battle a guy that, is good at, doing what they're doing and you have to dance to their music, you have to adapt, right? And it will be interesting to see him adapt to hardstyle music, right? Because sometimes if like some funky shit came up on tournament and I was dancing, everybody was like, yeah, he's gonna win, he's gonna kill it because obviously I dance only to funky music. But when there was some hardstyle playing, I was like, shit, I'm not gonna make it, I can't. And it made things interesting, right? Also, I don't know. I've been to USA, I've been to Russia, and I lived in Poland, and now I'm in Norway. I don't know how it's here, but I was on judge in RST, Russia Shuffle Tour, like back in 2018 or something like that. And what I've seen there is it just amazed me because they were like, how do I explain it? They were like hyper Poland, I would say, because the tournaments were very big. They did choreography, like they did a lot of team battles. Like that was something new to me. I never seen anything like that. And they were very good at basics, like foundations in shuffling, but they were also mixing other stuff, which was just crazy because, like, obviously I've seen cramp and shuffling from USA side, and but I never seen it in real life. and they were doing like tectonic crump, everything, but it was like the perfect balance of it, like everything and shuffling, like. But this is why I have problem with TSL. Like, I mean, we already like said about this so many times that they need to like stand up kind of to new ideas, because they set up their demand on this one thing that shuffling should look like this, and which is not. And I mean, I can complain all day about this, but what I mean is, you know I feel like this also kind of excludes, right, like people, like countries, because obviously my home country Poland is gonna be always against this stuff, right? So nobody from Poland will go there, or some people that they're like whatever. But if we keep pushing back, they it gets political a little bit right here, right? Because
Yeah.
we'll be like, yeah, shuffling is from Melbourne, like this is not shuffling, whatever, and they like fucking Polish people again complaining, yeah, we are not inviting them to tournament, never again. And
Oh,
what
well,
if like,
what they called
yeah,
us, they called us nationalistic and closed-minded for believing that shuffle came from Melbourne.
yeah, so we get like this kind of organization, like in Olympics, right? Like because Russia invaded Ukraine, we're not gonna let Ukraine Russian fucking sportmen compete in the Olympics, right? So we have this kind of situation right now, right? Because there's one community that is that is complaining about this whole thing, and this also creates kind of a rift in a fucking discussion. Like I mean, not discussion, like I don't know how to explain. Sorry, it's not my first language, but we can't come to terms with each other because of it, because we have different fundamental thinking about it, like how it should look like. So either we exclude people, or I don't know, like it feels like,
Or
because yeah, I spoke to so many Polish shufflers, and they said basically that they're gonna tell everybody that nobody should go there, like they not gonna go there because of what happened, and they just confirm it because they were on TSL before also, and they were disappointed. They went there this year, or it was last year, I don't remember, and basically they said, this tournament is just a fucking failure, and it feels like, you know like it may fuck. What if it's not only Poland?
Yeah, I think that the Polish like main issue raised was the nepotism side of it. It wasn't even their issue with the styles being displayed. They brought that up briefly, but their biggest issue was the nepotism, because they only had one Polish shuffler go through to that top 32, and as Samurai identified too, they were friends with at least one of the judges. So they also felt it was kind of that. It wasn't just like a style bias and poo-pooing on them for their like lack of creativity as they were saying it. It's more their issue was rooted with the nepotism. Like it's no coincidence that the same key people consistently end up in the finals of things, and however whatever. It's not just
Yeah,
because they're great dancers, right? It's we're seeing the same types of people,
yeah,
same
like
types
I
of same
appreciate
people.
Marbiik, like I've watched their videos and everything. They are great dancers. I'm not complaining about them being bad dancers or whatever, but they are not good. I mean, maybe not that good at shuffling. That's what I'm saying. Like they're very creative and all that stuff, but we spend so many years on polishing fundamentals, and they are not even doing that right, and they are in position to say to us that, oh guys, you don't know what you're talking about, like what the fuck.
Well, speaking from
yeah,
experience, sometimes the only way that you can actually fix an error, or you might not even perceive it as one, but to fix an error within your shuffling, particularly to dance, but I'm relating it to shuffling because I'm a shuffler, the only way to fix it is to sometimes meet another shuffler, and then they will show you like, hey, no, we do it this way, and that's how it's like this is how you would do, like it should look like this, and then you're like, oh wow, it looks so much better now. And for me, like again, when I was saying speaking from experience, I started in right at the end of 2007, and I was still heel flicking until 2012 with my Running Man. I practically, I didn't like the look of it so much, and I couldn't figure out because whatever. However, doesn't matter. I couldn't figure it out until I met another shuffler that could correct it for me. Because the only other shufflers that I'd met up until 2012 were doing the same thing. They were noobs at doing the Running Man as well. So the Tstep was kind of what I'd stayed with for a lot of the early years, and doing a lot of kicks and things, and like I still tried to make it look hard without having a Running Man. But Angelo actually went on to correct that when I met him in person. And then from there on, I met more and more and more people in the Melbourne scene, and I know tons of them to this day that most people consider like YouTube legends. So I've then gone on to learn from just about all of these people simply by just being around them and witnessing and observing how they do the fundamentals. Because the beautiful thing about Melbourne Shuffle for all these years pretty much was the fact that every single person has their own unique way of doing that dance. They say like the beauty of it is its simplicity. Like they say, oh, it's so easy, it's so simple. Sure, it might be to have a basic understanding of those foundations, but not to be well versed in them. Like, still to this day, I can't do a clean must Running Man because I've not drilled it enough to do that. You have to practice. Like as Samurai said, you can't just say, "Oh, I'm great at this" because you've picked up the Running Man in a year. Like it took me over like 5-6 years to even get a clean Running Man down. Like everyone progresses at different rates, but it's a matter of whether you think that's the correct or the poor form of doing it, or yeah. They perceive T-step and the foundations completely different to a lot of how we do as well. Someone could be doing a break dance, but somewhat pivoting their foot, and they'll call it a T-step still. So, like to me, that I don't know. That's out of my understanding with that. They've gone a little bit far in the progress in that regard.
Also, I would say that this is kind of a thing that, right, like this tournament and their way of dancing is it have some already history. Like what I mean, they were doing it for years, right? Like the Spanish shufflers, like it didn't happen just this year, right? So they had time to prove themselves, like that, yeah, this is gonna be the new style, whatever, like, and everybody's gonna agree on that, like with just Kali shuffling or Russian shuffling, right? Like they did it in 1 or 2 years, and everybody's like, the Kali shuffling is not really shuffling, it's just fucking weird or whatever. But USA basically proved themselves, that yeah, it's
Same with Russia.
legit shuffling. Yeah, exactly. But they had so many years to do it, and like we see those kinds of effects right now, like what they did for so many years. And I wouldn't,
Yeah.
I can't agree that, this is evolution. Like there is no fucking way. Like this is like new style of shuffling. For me, just very weird.
It's not a new
Yeah.
style, it's a new dance. It's for me, I just observe it as freestyle dance, but I don't think they want to call it that. They want to label it shuffling. I don't understand why. That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, like even the
Yeah.
guys that went to the tournament, they said they would be okay if they called this like house dance tournament. Nobody
Yeah,
would even
literally, it
complain.
could be anything then. People could have brought whatever to the table then, and then it would have been even more freestyle, and you probably would have seen even more shufflers in that regard. House dance, who knows who you would have had show up. Like that's what house dance is, what like a house foot shuffle or something or other was a lot of what they referred to. It's changed names many times over the years in the UK, but that's what they called shuffling, and that's what they shuffled to. I mean, I'm sure they would have had a hell of a lot more people from the UK if it was advertised as a house dance competition, because not everyone from the UK that dances to house shuffles either.
I mean,
But
you're making some great points. I like what you're
what
saying,
are you?
even though you're making some vague statements. I like when you say some strong statements.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just like so. I'm in the middle, but like I do, like I feel like I can't confidently say I think Spain has an agenda, like a malicious agenda
Yeah,
that
I
they're.
understand that. Yeah.
But I can say that they're definitely doing their own thing, and they're definitely calling it shuffle,
Yeah.
and they like such well-versed dancers, like I said, but
Luha.
aloha, aloha, aloha.
Hey, my head's exploding. I just quit that fucking class. Did no patience for that shit. Shuffling is more important than fucking data structure and shit.
Let's go.
But yeah, I can
Okay.
definitely say that Spain is they're doing something, they're pushing something. They're like I've gotten in so many discussions with Marcos and like Kayam, many other people in Spain about like Running Man and Tstep. And we've just like talked about it forever and talked about the, decipher of cutting shapes, shuffle, this, that. And I think it just comes down to like people aren't going to be interested in what they're not interested in. And that's where it comes in. Like, I really don't feel like you should be calling something if you're not interested in the root of that something.
Yeah.
Or
Also, when I see them dancing, I feel like they are dancing like if you made a dance video, right? It would be cool to see not only shuffling, and that's how I see it. When I see their videos, I feel like I'm watching dance video more of a shuffling video. That's why
me
I get
too.
it. Yeah, exactly. Like they are good dancers, but this is the problem. Like this little detail here, and they're
Yeah.
just saying shuffling this, and it's not that. And I guess
What was the point you wanted to make before I headed off? Or before I just
I,
went off?
I was going to bring up Colombia and a tournament that I went to in Medellin, and how in their culture they focus on a lot of shapes as well. Focus on a lot of house, focus on a lot of Allstyles. They actually have an Allstyles battle within their shuffle tournament, like back and forth, which I thought is awesome. Like there's so many dancers there, so many different things. Um, but for like just for an example, like they are a community that has embodied the essence of shaping for themselves, just as Spain has. But I can say that the way that each of them are, I don't want to say pushing the dance or pushing an agenda, but the way that they're like pushing it forward or just continuously doing it, it feels like a little bit more, like I don't want to say welcoming in Colombia, but it just feels like they'll be able to hear me and they'll be able to, like, they've nourished their roots. I feel like they've nourished their roots. They're just not like, that's just not them. And it could be that for Spain too, but the like way that it's just like on this top pedestal in Spain. I don't want to sound like disrespectful, but like, do y'all know kind of what I'm like kind of saying? Like, it just feels like I can't say that they're pushing an agenda that I know for sure. Like, I can't say that like Oscar and Marbiik are like pushing this thing and teaching these classes to like misinform people. I think they're just like definitely not paying attention to some really important stuff. And I was telling Samurai when you were gone, like I've had conversations with them. I've had conversations about the essence of dance and shuffling and running man Tstep versus shaping how it's up here versus like grounding yourself. And it's something that they're really interested in, but I just feel like I can't seem to state like the common sense of respecting this dance. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's common sense to respect where something comes from. And even if you want to branch off and change into all these different things, why are they scared to become different things? Like,
exactly.
why call it shuffling if it's much, 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 much far away from that? Like, it's basically Allstyles at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for expressing that. I mean, we have some shufflers in the community that have gone to Allstyles tournaments, so I don't understand why the people that are going for that type of a look don't do that more. If they want to learn about learn about battle culture and tournaments and how things are run and how things should be judged. However, I'm sure I don't watch Allstyles tournaments myself, but I'm sure you could learn a hell of a lot from them. Because if
They would
they
kill
would
it.
exist for a lot longer than what shuffle tournaments have. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just feel like there's just like so many ways to look at it, but like at the end of the day, like we got to get serious about something, and like if we try to relate to any other dance style, like a bunch of Spanish shufflers I know compete in hip hop tournaments. Debo and Kayem, for example, like they are amazing dancers with hip hop. Um, and the way that they do blend it into their shuffling is nice. Although I wish that I could see more Tstep, more Running Man, and how they blend that within that in a shuffle tournament. Like like you said earlier, for 50% of your run, if you're doing a different style, what like are you going to be judged on, or like what are you going to be like, what is it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, like what's so taboo about like calling it all style? What's so taboo about mentioning free step? Like I don't know. It's I don't know why everyone wants to just stay under this term of like shuffle, 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 but not give a fuck about how we even got here in the first place, and like how to blend and harmonize the roots, the history, into actually making the history last.
Yeah.
Like,
I mentioned to you on the last call, my friend Kyle, Malaysian and travels to Thailand occasionally, and that's how I met him at Subculture, I believe it was. Um, and he's gone on to win 2 tournaments in Malaysia, held by hardstyle shufflers, judged
yeah,
by hardstyle shufflers and OGs, and yeah, he's taken 2 tournaments now. I'm waiting for him to, like, I've had a pretty in-depth conversation with him already about it, but I'm waiting for him to, write me up a statement essentially about his experiences and his thoughts around everything, because he's like, do you want the negatives as well? And I'm like, yeah, by all means, if there's negatives, tell me, because like I want to give a very clear picture to the world as to how Malaysia runs it. Because as far as I see it, Malaysia has, like, that last tournament and the one that Kyle took the cake for, they ran that better than most tournaments I've ever seen. I was watching the live stream, it was on TikTok. Like, I even was like, had it on my computer so I don't have to get it on my phone and that. But um, incredibly run. Um, Giovanni from the States took third. Second place was Aiden, was a local Malaysian boy. I think he's even like 9 years old or something. Um, and he's a child prodigy. He's like the new age moon boy. And then first place was Kyle, and he's a shuffle shaper. So that's my main point around this entire story about Kyle is the fact that he's a shuffle shaper. He does hybrid style shuffling, and he can do jump style, hacking, muzzing. He's well versed in just about every rave dance that's existed, and he puts all of that into his dancing. I've danced with him at festivals. I've seen how he dances. So when he took the cake, he got it with hardstyle shufflers dominating the tournament, and pretty much the main negative thing that he raised to me was the fact of lack of creativity, because a lot of the Malaysian shufflers, not that there's anything wrong with doing this, but they were very um, like
Traditional.
traditional in hardstyle shuffle and Malaysian shuffle. They were just hard line hardstyle shuffling for the most part. So they didn't like hate on shapes, they just weren't versed in it. So he had this misconception that a lot of them would be judging him and that they'd be hating on him or anything like that. But I personally, from the Malaysians that I've interacted with, and even the people that ran it, the judges and everything, I interviewed Asma. He had only positive things to say. And the main thing that Asma credited him as by winning was his creativity, was his ability to mix it up and not just do what he's drilled for the last 15 years, which is what the case is for most hardstyle shufflers. They are very um, cut the same cloth a lot of the time. It's very the same movements, clone almost to a point. So if you're just going to be dogmatic in your style, and I'm guilty of myself over the years, when I became a rocker, you tend to stick to that style or stick to a style that you pick up. Like I personally don't feel confident in my hardstyle shuffling anymore, and that's what I started with. So people will progress and move into different parts of the dance, but if you don't learn from what came before, like how are you ever going to actually evolve anything? Like they're
Yeah.
just like people straight up acting like they've created new movements when it's things people have done over 20 years ago. It's just they've not bothered to actually look.
Yeah. I want to add that the first time seeing Spanish dancers specifically and the way that they highlighted musicality in specific was advanced in my opinion. Like the way that they might not be running it to the beat that I run it to, but they're hitting those noises. Like I said in my round, like the music, there was so many outer beats that as a well-versed dancer, like I should be able to hit, but when it's just like I'm trying to either keep it traditional or trying to evolve with them, it like gets a little confusing. And you mentioned something that sparked a thought in me when you were just talking about how God, what'd you say?
Another
Basically,
cool story, bro.
yeah, I'm like, cool story, bro. But like, it made me think like one thing that we probably could benefit from is if more shaping and the style that Spain shuffles in, if we could have more of them come to the United States and more of the United States come to there, or like Australia could, like I just feel like we need to be dancing together in order to like be able to not only see but like feel, so that when we are in these competitions, like regardless of what style you decide to choose, like you'll be I think it'll just be better. Like, you know, cuz like right now I'm talking about Spain and I'm like I've seen them, I've heard them, I've been with them, I've danced with them, but like I would love for them to experience what I experience here, because it's just two drastically different things that like I feel like if they entered a competition here, it it would honestly be like who knows what would happen. Like I really don't know what would happen. I feel like we would be able to acknowledge them as like the dancers that they are and like everything that they bring, but like I don't know. There's just so many things that I feel like I have to say about this, because the more that I sit here and think about it,
I
like the
have a
more that I have.
question.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you mentioned that it would be cool if they came to USA, you know, like this kind of exchange of experience and everything, right? But don't you feel like USA shufflers are already like experiencing other dances? Like so many dancers from USA are the best dancers around the world, right? Right. So it's not like this is something new to them, right? At least that's how I feel. Like I don't know your opinion about it, but like, but for me, I see that USA shufflers can mix crump, hip hop, locking and popping, and other stuff and those dances are not very rave dances. That's what I would say, right?
And the music
They
usually
don't share
reflects this too.
exactly, but still they mix it in shuffling in very healthy balance, right? But
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah, exactly. But in Spain, they just overdo it. That's how I at least feel like.
I can
This
also
is
agree.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
so for me, it's more like I see that USA shufflers can do it, you know, can do this stuff, and them somehow don't. I
Yeah,
don't know
when we're
how you feel
talking
about it.
about
Like
musicality, like musicality, as far as I've always understood it, is pretty much you've got to be hitting the beat. That's like rule one, even just from shuffling in the first place. Like it doesn't even matter if you're doing the moves incorrectly, so long as you're hitting the beat. if you're hitting the beat, you've got a baseline level of musicality. But if you're hitting every beat in the song, just about, if the music and the song is making you move and interpret in a certain way, you're interpreting the entire song and not just being like lazy with your upper body. I'm guilty myself. I'm not saying I'm that insanely good with musicality, but that's how I've always understood it. The best dancers to me were people that were making use of the entire song and moving because the song told them to move like that. So
Yeah.
China, we're still waiting to hear more details specifically about their competitions and things, but we're getting information slowly fed to us and vice versa. We're exchanging information and it's working out for the betterment of both scenes. But Luha, I think, actually identified saying that one of the last big Chinese tournaments had a rocker and a hardstyle shuffler as the grand finalists, but they have like shapers, even free steppers, like jumpers, all sorts of people that participate in their tournaments. But it just showed you that, like, how is it that China and Russia have successfully run tournaments for so long without massive controversy? It's just, it shows the
Yeah.
polarities
Yeah.
between the scenes.
Huh.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
how it's
they're
possible
over
for them and
10
not for
years
Spain.
plus strong, and you know, Spain, they said they've been at it for 7 years, but you know, they've been having dramas since it started, whereas Russia and China's has been pretty fucking smooth sailing
Yeah,
for the
like
most part.
everybody wants to go Russia and go to China, but
Yeah,
not everybody wants to go Spain.
Yeah.
I felt that, yeah, Malaysia, because most of the outside world in terms of people from the West don't have much contact with Russia and China in general. So they, as two scenes, have bounced off each other quite a lot and exchanged heaps of shufflers for tournaments and all sorts. Uh, whereas Malaysia has always had that connection with Australia. We're tight as hell. So like every time I go there, even the first time meeting some of these people, they treated me like family. It honestly, say that it's probably the nicest cultural exchange and people that I've ever met in my travels so far. I mean, when I went to Fiji, they were probably the nicest people in general that I've ever met, met as in like happy people. But when it comes to Malaysia, they were just incredibly welcoming, and they were so interested in Melbourne styles, because they just, a lot of them to this day are quite young now, and they're just coming into the scene, and they're getting media coverage about their studio, they're getting on the news and all sorts of stuff. So their scene has been quite a lot different to the rest of the world's from the get-go. As I said, they're a Muslim country, so a lot of the core beliefs, and they're conservative as well, in that regard. So it's a lot different. It's always been more clean, less of a focus on drugs. Like that, it's literally specifically focused on being sober essentially, and partying from getting a high out of the music and the dance, and that's what they chase. That they I can see it in their faces when they're dancing. They're smiling. They're happy. They've got so much joy. It's literally contagious when you're there. You can't help but be happy when you're in Malaysia. So, like that for me, I feel like there's a lot of things people need to learn from that. Like, you know, people don't walk away from that being sore losers. There was some really, really good dancers in that tournament that I felt should have probably placed a little bit higher, but no one felt salty from the results because like no one's blind in Malaysia like that. They can see clearly the top three. They had reasons, each of them, to have the places that they had. So I don't understand
Also, I
why they can function so well, but no one else seems to be able to do this.
I think it's
yeah,
because
also
ego drives a lot of this dance in certain areas,
Hmm.
like a lot.
Big time.
Yeah.
Samurai.
I wanted to say that you made some great points about it because for many people, shuffling, like what's the end of the like what's the goal in shuffling? You know, what's the
True.
goal in shuffling? Like being a good dancer in general or being a good shuffler. But because for many people, it's just having fun and meeting with friends pretty much, right? And
Yeah.
Spanish shufflers, I feel like they want to be great dancers, like they want to earn money on this, you know, and that's it. But like around the world, I think most of the people are just want to have fun with their friends, like meet new people, like have share some experiences and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
this is also like some level of conflict here, right? I just
Yes.
wanted to
I
say
do
this.
believe so. Go ahead. Wait, who said
No,
that?
no, no. Yeah. That's it. That's
Who
it. No,
said
I just
that?
wanted
I'm
to
like,
add to. No, no worries, no worries.
one thing that I did notice when I was talking to some Spanish shufflers about how they dance, like or like not how they dance, but just like, do they just get up in the morning and they're like, oh, I want to go outside and play and like dance? But one word that I see used pretty often is train. And one time I asked what they meant by I'm going to train. And I don't know, like it just rose a question in me as to why everything is like training to be better or be a better competitor or be a better like
Treating it as a sport, not a dance.
yes, that's kind of what I was thinking. And like I don't want to diminish someone for wanting to perfect their craft. Like that's not really what I'm saying, but it's just like the competitiveness and like the blatant like I don't know, not ignorance, but just blatant like ignoring the beauty and the purity that can actually come from it. I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way, but to each his own. It's just very interesting to me how it is over there and like how it feels to be over there. And I'm grateful to have become very close friends with many of them and understand them as dancers and like converse with them. Um, but I definitely have so many things that I disagree on, like about the way that they're moving forward as a collective, like thing that I'm also involved in. I don't know. It's just like impossible to word, but like they have such a strong community.
You could elaborate a bit, I guess, on what you said on the last call. We have obviously, it was quite a long phone call, just to give context because we're recording this time. But to give context, we did chat for like 4 hours or something. So it was
That was
there
great.
was yeah, it was
That was a long time.
really good conversation. It was a good chat.
Yeah.
We went over quite a lot of things, but just to touch on the topic again, when you were asked to teach a workshop in Spain and what you were saying about that and how you felt about everything and when people were approaching you about it.
Yeah, I was like very, very, very grateful to bring more. Honestly, the first thought that I had when they asked me to bring something to Madrid, which was the people of Madrid, the shufflers in Madrid, uh, I was honestly just very excited to bring more Running Man and more Tstep into their flow, possibly. Like, just show them more because last year they were asking the Americans to show them a big Running Man, and then this year I was being asked, "Can you show me Cali? Can you show me Malaysian T-step?" Like just like the broad surface of these different styles, and to see them do it was like heartwarming because they honestly like the people that were in the workshop were trying very, very hard to do it and like do the movement, and it was obvious that this movement was very, very foreign, and that made me see that Running Man and T-step is not something that has been done a lot, like, you know what I mean, like that they're very educated on, that they're very that they show much importance to within their dance. Like I just keep talking about essence, but like all the essence of their flow is just like levitating up here. I feel like there's so much to do in this realm. But what I taught was grounding techniques and just like body like composure and just how to like truly like slide on the floor. And it was something that they showed a lot of interest in, and I was very grateful to bring that over there because it's something that even from the first year I could tell was not very potent. I'm trying to like remember what I said yesterday because God, there was so much yesterday.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I
we
wish we
miss
had
it out.
recorded parts of it. It's all right. I mean, we've touched on quite a bit of it again now, but yeah, it was a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, that's one for the ages for sure. I'm sure Luha took notes.
If you remember anything, if you remember anything that that was said or something, like I'll try and tap back into it. But yeah, it was just very interesting. Like I didn't want to charge anyone for what I was doing because I'm not, like I said, as educated in what I was presenting, like to give straight detail on or like give a history lesson on. Like I was just like, I will show you what I have, and this is what I have. But there is just so much more out there that can be shown. But it's just some people just literally have no idea that there are resources out there, that the resources exist. And that's something that I also found interesting. I mean, I didn't know half of the things until I saw them on your page. And like just some of the research that you guys have done is like extensive research that not just some random person can dig down and find, because a lot of it is regular experience too, like real life. But it is mind-blowing how drastically different it is over there, and like taking it out of, like taking the competitive scene and TSL out of this, like they're just very, very, very different. And I don't know any other way to express it, but I do feel like the more that shuffle is presented as we kind of collectively represent it, I feel like the more that they are around people like that and around dancers like that, the more they will adapt and learn and kind of feel how fun it is to actually just run Running Man, Tstep, all the little things that can go with this, and just like run it for like a while and find their flow within that flow. Because I think one girl expressed to me how she just felt like she was on the balls of her feet the whole time. And I'm like, yeah, like your essence is up here. You're always ready to do something different. You're always ready to do a kick, do a flip, do something, like do some very intricate footwork. But like grounding it is like getting your foundation. Without your foundation, you're not going to be able to like do much because it's going to crumble, like just like a house. I think that was mentioned yesterday, like a house, if a foundation is not sturdy enough, or it was mentioned today, I don't know, I'm getting my conversations mixed up. You know what I mean? It's like I just wish I knew how to approach. Yeah, I wish I knew how to approach the topic of like Spain and like what is really going on. You know what I mean? Because I'm just someone that has been over there and experienced it, and I'm like, I had such a great experience, but like I do have, there's just so much to say about it that I don't know. I feel like it could be done differently.
I think, I mean, Samurai, because you've had quite a few questions so far. You've got a dossier of some form, right?
Yeah, I do.
Not to let a cat out of the hat or anything, but yeah, you could probably elaborate on some of the things mentioned there if you wanted some clarifications or anything like that, because I'm sure Autumn could probably weigh in on a few things. I'll be back again. Sorry about this.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you also went through this like stuff I have here, at least a major. Wait a second. It's very hard. Like you mentioned a lot of things and explained a lot of things, and I just pretty much have a lot of accusations from Polish shufflers like towards Oscar and judges, and also I would say that I knew Oscar even before he started those tournaments, so that's why I am kind of like I'm a schizo. I'm trying to I see patterns, and because I know Oscar, like when when my fuck, like when I was popular, I guess, when I can say that, if I can say that, he messaged me and asked me if I can promote his page because that's when I think he started TSL or whatever, like Shuffle Showcase profile on Instagram at least. And he messaged me if I can promote it because he's gonna do tournaments and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure, bro, why not? And he sent me some videos and all that stuff. And that's when I think also at the same time started cutting shapes. And there was this already some kind of conflict there, right? Because at that time we didn't think that cutting shapes is shuffling basically. So he wanted me to promote something that I uh, had strong belief about, that this is not shuffling. I'm not gonna promote it because this is not it. But I kept in touch with him, and sometimes he sent me some shuffling videos and etc. And he mentioned that he's gonna do tournaments and everything. He had this idea to do this world tournament. So I was like, I knew about it for a long time, like very long times. uh, and he started some application on phone. Like he designed some application that you can create your own profile and upload videos there, and you can battle other dancers. And you had your like soccer profile, like FIFA kind of, like your attack is 99, defense is 80 or something like that. Yeah, but it fumbled. It's not available anymore. So and I see this right now, right? And I remember those things. And since start, he wanted to earn money on this. So that's why I feel like he had this agenda. Like even Gaara, I think, mentioned that he sees those like things in this stuff, like in TSL at least. I mean, we covered like many topics here, but I'm more interested about this drama, right? So, uh, so
Yeah, you're also not the only person that I've um, heard say that they notice patterns with Oscar or have a past with Oscar in specific about something shuffle related. I think one of the arguments that I heard was taking information or something and not crediting it, but I don't want to say that for sure. But that is something that I've heard from him, from like about him. Um, I can see how he is like ringleader of a lot going on over there, especially like in terms of monetization and pushing forward for something while still appreciating, like same thing with Gaara, like he said at the Battlegrounds. He can not agree with it, but like he can appreciate that it's there, and I think that's something that I can relate to about this one right here, because there's a lot of things that I disagree on, even though some of them are my closest friends. Like I can't wrap my head around what they're doing or what it is that they're intending to do. But
yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Like,
yeah,
if
it's
it's like, I don't want to say it's like betraying your friends or whatever, because it's a strong word. Uh, but like, I feel like you kind of see that what they're doing is just kind of, not to the right side, I would say.
not.
Like,
It's not,
yeah,
and
it could be corrected, right?
it could be. It could be just better. Because, like, I don't know the correct way. I just know how to nourish something. And I think it just needs to be nourished in a way that it is pushed into the right direction. Because right now, I think there's a lot of, like, I don't want to say egotistical pride, but, like, I do at
Yeah.
the same time. But it's just it's a different word than that. It's like a feeling that I feel when I'm there. Um, just very competitive. I don't know, but I do think that it could be corrected. I do think that it could be just kind of aligned or realigned into like a better and brighter value that it can bring for the community as a whole, everywhere globally. Because
Also,
if
I have a question to
Mhm.
everyone here. like everyone, literally everyone here. What do you think? Like, if you could name a best shuffler, right? Or if some person would say he's the best shuffler, if the best shuffler for you is a person that won a lot of tournaments, or a person that is actually just recognized on internet because he's good at it.
Well, this just what you were just asking, Timurai. I was earlier I was thinking about the comment that was made where it was listing all of the trophies or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And that just like what you just asked kind of made me think of that. But I'm gonna ask you to repeat the question and then I'm gonna let Gaara go first.
Yeah. So
Please.
smart. Yeah, so the best shuffler for you is a person that won many tournaments, or a guy that is just, kind of OG, recognized on internet, because many people aspire to dance like him.
It's so for me, the best shuffler is subjective. Like it's all personal opinions
Yeah,
on
yeah,
who the best
obviously.
shuffler in the world is. Like I've blown smoke up your ass multiple occasions because you were my
Bro,
favorite
stop.
shuffler. So I would consider you the best shuffler in the world, regardless of your accolades in tournaments. Like you've got some under your belt, but that's as far as I'm concerned. So the point I was going to make essentially was when Kratos in particular put words in my mouth and quoted me saying, "Do you know who you're talking to?" or something along those lines. When I
Perfect.
don't think I've ever in my life said that, yeah, and his little arrows pointing to nationalistic and closed-minded, I'm like, all right. Point being, I've never said like, "Do you know who you're talking to?" or had an ego about my accolades or the things that I've done in the dance. But him then doing that. So basically, my point is, I've reiterated a few times, if you are, if you really are the best, if you really are the GOAT, and if you're really as good as you claim, you wouldn't need to list these things. You wouldn't need to boast about what you've done because it should speak for you. Like when you've got me and Daniels from Australia, from Melbourne in particular, our favorite shuffler is someone from Poland. Like, I understand Poland keeps true to the roots of Melbourne and everything, but I don't want to be hearing nationalistic and closed-minded. Otherwise, I'd be
Yeah.
like most people on the internet that says Mickey's the best shuffler of all time. I don't agree with that. I think Mickey's right up there, and I'm friends with the bloke. He's great, but I don't think he's the best of all time. My personal favorite happens to be from another country. So this nationalistic and closed-mindedness is just ridiculous. And to say that I hate on all these different styles, again, is just closed-minded themselves. When have I gone and been done hater comments? Like they, on the other hand, have been slinging shit non-stop. Like I think the last time, and same goes for Samurai. We're still, and this is part of the whole shuffle cancellables shit, is me and Samurai have essentially been cancelled from a few different parts of the scene for quite some time now. It's been the better
Yeah.
part of 10 years. So, like, we're still to this day banned from the FTS Facebook group. And that was for voicing opinions back then. And mind you, I'm great with the main heads now. We're on good terms, and I'm sure Samurai is on good terms with a lot of people too. Like, I don't think people are holding grudges like that. But still to this day, it's like a life ban. You get kicked out and banned, you're gone. And I mean, Luha can still see a lot of the posts. I think being a teenager, there was a bit of hot-headed interactions back and forth. Sling shit, you're going to be getting shit slung back. But I think the main reason that I got banned was for sticking up for Melbourne. It was both me and Hilty were sticking up for Melbourne when people were like belittling it and calling us irrelevant, saying Melbourne's irrelevant, and that was what led into that video we showed you the other day, the shuffle clones. So when all that hostility was starting to get directed at Melbourne, saying we're irrelevant, we're a thing of the past, we're a relic, blah blah blah, move on, grandpa, fucking all this shit, disrespect, disrespect, disrespect. They made the Shuffle Clones video without saying a single word, nothing in the description, anything, just showing dances. And that caused so much animosity, even towards me still to this day, and I wasn't even the one that made it. I'm not even in We Dance Hard, like, his group or editing, like, anything. I'm just friends with
Mhm.
Len. They're just associated with me, but they just push that onto every single person that's involved with the Melbourne Shuffle. Not everyone is so close-minded and dogmatic with their thinking. Like,
Yeah.
we've put the hand out many a times, but like they say they're about bridge building, but they just keep knocking out all the foundations. How the fuck are you going to get a bridge built with all the foundations being smashed?
Yeah, I think it like the point just goes over a lot of people's heads and they just take the attack. And that's not the way to communicate.
Yeah, it essentially the point of all that was, yeah, if you really are the best, you shouldn't need to say all the things that you've done. People should recognize you as the best. And as to answer the question then, Samurai, is that's what I think.
Yeah.
Is you should be the undisputed without it even being brought into question. For how many years? And speaking from experience here too, because me, you, and Luha were around for these internet days. For how many years was Mikki considered the best shuffler of all time?
For years, bro. For
Probably
years.
like half our shuffling lifetimes.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it. For
I
years and
I
years and
tried
years
to
and
copy
years.
him, bro.
Yep. There you go. Like, it's
Exactly.
subjective.
He's
It
still the
come,
best of me.
but he's still, yeah, and there you go. And people still consider him the best to this day. So that to me, when I had the conversation with Marbiik pretty early on, when we started discussing, it might have even been in the 5-minute call that I had with him briefly, but he was asking me something like, who would be your Mount Rushmore of shufflers, essentially? Like, who are the OGs to you? And I said, well, if there was a Mount Rushmore of shuffling, I'd probably have Big Milan on it, Pay, both of their impacts on the dance. I can't remember who else I said at the time, but it irrelevant. But the point being, they all had a purpose on there. Oh, there's Samurai. They all had a purpose in being in the places they held. And he disagreed with me calling them OGs because they weren't the people that basically started it in the 90s. So even Spain's definition on what they consider to be OG differs from what we believe. They think you can't even have the title of OG unless you were the guys that created it, that were back in the 80s and 90s. Like, uh, are you tripping? Because like OGs to me, like, yeah, I started right at the end of 07, but I still call 07 shufflers that started before me as OGs, and I feel like I still try to humble myself if people call me an OG, being someone from 2007, because in Melbourne, I'm a youngin. Like, I'm literally the third generation of shufflers in Melbourne. So like we already got treated differently by the people of old and all these things, but it's whoever the best is and whoever's OG comes down to what the people call you. Like, I didn't consider myself an OG until people put that label on my head. I never called myself one. People called me that.
Ooh. Bro, that was a very long answer, but I appreciate it.
Oh man, it's like where we at now? 7:30, and all I've had. I woke up at like 4 a.m. for this, and yeah, all I've had so far was a J and a coffee. So, and that's some water. So I gotta get some food in my stomach or something. I just gotta shut up for a bit.
So yeah,
Let's
go
keep
ahead, guys.
this
I'm
answer.
asking you.
What do I consider the best shuffler? Someone that wins a lot of tournaments or someone that definitely not wins a lot of tournaments, because if someone wins a lot of tournaments in my eyes, they're a good competitor, they're a good battle winner, they're a good battler, and they have had what the people are always looking for. But I wouldn't necessarily make that someone as my favorite dancer, my favorite shuffler. Um, Shit. Personally, my favorite shuffler is Dragon Fade, Kale, just because he's what I've experienced here at some events and just like within my age group of my community. And I think I like his dance so much because he does it the way that I first saw it done and first fell in love with like what it looked like. But I don't know. I think it's subjective too, because I think a lot of people are great dancers and can be great dancers. And I'm not saying that someone that wins a lot of tournaments isn't a great dancer, but you know, if Kale was out here winning all these tournaments, it would be both. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. I think also dancing in real life is much different than videos or what can be seen
Yeah, that's
online.
true.
And I just so happen to be in the generation that social media is just like super important on how to even know shufflers exist. Like YouTube for you guys, I'm guessing. But yeah, I think that would be my answer. Someone that just speaks to me personally, like their dance that I can just like resonate with it in some type of way, um, and see like what they're speaking, see their craft, see what they've put into their craft, and how it resonates with what I like.
It's very interesting answer also because like I don't want to speak like in this kind of case. I mean, because guys like always look like into being badass, you know, kind of. And we like Gaara, like he had those OGs like around, you know. But I mean, they were fucking the best, and I never had them. But still, I look up to like people that are actually very good, and you look up to people that are like you can share your experience with and can be friends with and go dance together and all that stuff. Like obviously, like there are different people also that probably have a similar view on this. But like I know it's a hard question also because for me, I'm not sure if I could say the same thing that like I feel like if Mickey's, for example, because he's my idol, he would participate in tournaments when he was at his peak. Obviously he would won a lot of tournaments, right? That's at least how I feel about it.
He did, and it happened. So in 2009,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, there was multiple tournaments he participated in, but just about any time there was like a form of battle or competition or something like that, he took it every time. Mickey, when there was
Yeah.
AustralianShuffler.com, it was so you could think you can shuffle, basically. That was what it was marketed as. So you think you can shuffle, so you think you can dance. And SHFL, Shuffle Hard for Life. They ended up touring
Yeah.
the east coast of Australia, or I can't remember if it was the whole of Australia, but I think it was definitely just the east coast at least. And they went to like multiple different suburbs. They interacted with like the underage shufflers. They got them to come out to like Knox Shopping Complex, which is like a 30-40 minute drive from where I used to live. Jesse was actually the kid, the underage shuffler that was filming Mickey on that stage for SHFL, and in that clip,
I
like
think I saw this
yeah, the
video.
rocking
Yeah.
clip, yeah, and he's doing the spin, and like it's
Mm-hmm.
cool. And then his misses and everything, but they were touring with those shufflers at the time. And when it came down to the final two, it was Rocket from Adelaide and it was Mickey's from Melbourne, and Mickey won. And it was like a public vote that decided that. So that's also like
Yeah.
nothing really that negative came from that, but that was also the end of that scene. Like once that happened, it was pretty much like it was a bit right at the end of 2009. So like after that, it had peaked as a trend and then it started to die off. From there, it just evolved into the different sectors, and then you had shit like Newcastle Rockers start to pop up like a year or two later, and then rocking started to take off because a lot of the kids that were doing the underage shit, if they were still dedicated and still doing it after it died, or picked it up again like myself, um, then you had to basically evolve to what was the new requirements. As I said, the reason rockers are so confined to a small space is because that's what we had to work with. There was like a 1 meter by 1 meter space if you were lucky in a club, and most events too, like even festivals and stuff. There's not a lot of room in these things because they just cram them. There's a lot of demand, but yeah, as shufflers, we don't get shuffle circles. We don't get people making room for like that in not in like that. It just doesn't happen. And we don't have that woo like wow factor that a lot of like street dancers experience, especially at battles and things, when someone does a trick and everyone loses their shit. We don't have that type of energy, and I personally at least don't identify with that kind of like to turn up in that kind of way.
Yeah,
We turn up in a different
yeah,
type of way, you know what I mean? Like you said, you like to look bad, like
I
as
feel
as
that,
men, you like to look badass, or you like to go hard, and
bro.
to me that makes
It
sense.
always was about looking badass, bro.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, but this is also an interesting topic, because if you think about it, like the rocking in Australia was created because there was not a lot of space, right? And now you have
It was
those
still
big
hard hustle.
tournaments where and you have all those tournaments where there's a lot of space. So shuffling is basically crafted to where it's danced, and people don't speak about it also. Like, I know you mentioned it a lot of times, but I think people just forget about this, that it happens like this.
Yeah, I mentioned it to Shod recently because after the studio and everything, I said that he should look at setting up a Patreon so that he can not just do tutorials, but to discuss history and tell people like this is how Kelly came to be. This is what happened back in the day. He's got archived footage of years and years and years, and like footage of people that aren't even with us anymore to the day. And he could tell a lot of stories for the things that he's experienced and been through. So like someone like Shoj, like OGs, in the sense of him being like a massive community leader, they should be pretty much tasked, and we pretty much have been left with the task to tell the world our lived experiences. Because I said we might take them for granted ourselves, but we keep getting asked about them, and if we don't tell these stories, or if we don't even give people answers, and we act arrogant or be like gatekeepers, then they're not going to learn, and then the history's going to repeat itself, and shit's going to die again. Like it's consistently happened every single time. The same mistakes have happened. The same thing happened, and it got scary when we started to look at what happened to Freestep. Like even Autumn's reaction
Yeah,
was quite hilarious. She was literally gobsmacked by the similarities of what's happened with Freestep and what they've done to that. The
Yeah.
Barsi, the base, the foundation has been completely forgotten about essentially, and
erased.
now
Yeah,
they erased it, and now they're doing all this other stuff. That's like street dance or even like freestyle. It's strange. It's like that's we don't want to see the same thing happen, and the problem is with that occurrence is that they're still calling that free step. So even if there's free steppers who want to actually do competitive free step, they don't have somewhere to do that, and that's what's going to start happening with shuffling.
exactly.
Like you said yourself,
I mean,
Autumn, same thing. I feel it in America, but I'm sure it's way worse in Spain if you're expressing it there. But I think East Coast and West Coast of America is a bit different, as you said too. So, but I feel like you have that ego pressure, and from all the tricking and the crowd reaction, like people only turn up to some wild trick. Like if you're
Yeah.
doing really clean rocking or really clean hardstyle, whatever, really clean Cali for that matter, if you're not doing tricking something or whatever, no one turns up for you or gives a fuck. So
Yeah.
I hate that pressure that gets put on you, and whether it's social media or if it's like an ego thing or it's a cultural thing. I don't know, identify with it, but I know that it's not all like that in America at least. Whereas you've said in Spain it seems to be the case. Whereas in America, there's still some people that I can clearly identify with and deal with on spiritual level as well as a dance.
Yeah.
you were whole time
Okay.
silent.
Who I consider best shufflers, or what I consider a best shuffler? Well, what was the question
Yeah,
again? What's the question again?
yeah. So the best shuffler for you is a guy that wins a lot of tournaments, or a person that is just, you're like idol because he's recognized on internet, you know, like famous kind of.
To me, this is a very complex question because I have
It is. It is.
yeah, I have a personal favorite because he inspired me a lot to create my style, which is Instinct, one of the 2007 shufflers. But that's just my taste. I really like his shuffling. But what I considered not necessarily the best shuffler, but a very outstandingly good shuffler is first that this person can adapt his or her style to as much different styles of electronic music as possible. So they can go fast, they can go hard, they can go funky and groovy or stompy. They can adapt a lot. Second, he or she can use less or more space depending on the situation. And overall, honestly, I think it's more about adapting to the environment, to the feeling, etc. I think that's I really like versatility on a shuffler. Be adaptable to each situation, and then I have some names that I like, but I don't consider them best or etc. I don't have like a best in this regard. Some people from New York really like their style. They fit a lot. There's I think he's from Singapore. Dante, friend of Zero. He's like a very underground shuffler. Gaara knows Dante. I think
I
he's a really good
know.
shuffler. There was a guy years ago called Zenimask from I think from Canada. Zenimask was really a really groovy style, but yeah, I think adapting and be versatile to space and environment and music, etc. It makes a good shuffler.
It
Which,
just
by the way,
mentioned.
which by the way, I don't even fit into my perspective as a good shuffler because I'm a very basic guy and doing very basic things on the slam. So yeah, it's kind of I admire the ones who can do this, but I even can do that myself.
Yes, so it's someone that you can aspire to be, basically.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, but also at the same time, because like in hip hop, right? Like in breakdancing or whatever, you have those kind of guys, right? Like they have great videos, they won a lot of tournaments and everything. But shuffling, because it's so young, it's hard to, I don't know, like draw a frame, a line, or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
right now we are in this kind of position where we gonna kind of set those standards, right?
Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
yeah, don't worry, bro. It sounds corny as fuck, but that's true because nobody till now like sat down and just talked about it at all. Like there was never a conversation about those things at all.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just corny. So
No, I hear you. I love it. No, you're absolutely right. I
think
do.
yeah, like
we've said for a long time there needed to be a call between communities, even before it was being commented and mentioned. But I think like I wouldn't even consider this that call just yet. Like this is us
yeah, no,
this is us just discussing
I
what's
just
going on, and even if anything, throwing out a line, being like, hey, anyone who we've brought up that wants to come on, either defend themselves if that's the case, or express how they feel or view things, we want to communicate as a community.
Yeah. Like
If we
even I
don't
was gonna mention
communicate,
it.
it's not going to do anything.
No, and I was gonna mention earlier, like I would love to see so many faces on this call right now, like with you guys, or just talking, like people from Spain, people from California, New York, people from Poland, people from Germany. Like there's so many people that can say that I'm somewhat close to that all have drastically different views of things, and I just feel like you said, in order to move as a community, like we gotta communicate and we gotta unite, literally. So I definitely agree. definitely.
Yeah, we don't even have to we don't even have to agree on everything or even like everything. As I said, I don't have to like something to appreciate it exists. Like, but if we don't communicate amongst each other and then people go and start using terms from that other community and you've created these walls, because as far as I've seen, the love for Melbourne Shuffle has no borders. I'm not a no borders preacher by any means. I'm completely against that when it comes to countries. But when it comes to the dance, I've not seen any, there's no borders when it comes to the love for Melbourne Shuffle. It's everywhere I've gone. There's every country I've been to so far, they've had love for it. Like, that's all we,
I do.
it's why we're so passionate about it. It's why people get so heated. It's why all this drama begins in the first place. Is people care about it. It's not like they don't, so that they call this drama. I don't like drama. I don't feed off it. I fucking hate it. If when drama pops up in my life, I usually cut it out like a cancer. So I'm just trying to do what I can without doing drastic things like that and removing myself entirely from the scene like I've done in the past. So I'm not trying to get jaded. And same thing with Samurai. He's trying to come back and feel like, you know, we've all still got love for this dance. We've always been here. We've always been watching. We've always had input, but it's a matter of whether or not people want to hear that or even care. Like, why should
Yeah.
they care is they're usually their attitude. Why should we care? Move on. Like, that's too progressive. It's hyper progressive. It's extremism at that point. There is progression in the dance and we've had it. It's the evolution we've seen thus far. It's a big fucking tree and there's a lot of different countries.
It is a big fucking tree. I'm glad you said that. It's like massive, like shade everywhere. Like it's got fruits, vegetables, everything.
I
I
mean,
do have
I can probably find it. This is the tree of shuffling that we've been working on recently to try and give people a visual depiction of where certain things started and what they influenced and then created. So even if you want to say that this is the Melbourne Shuffle tree, that's all of the styles it went on to create and that influenced each other be created in the first place, and now they came to be. And then you've got, you know, early inspirations, UK rave stepping and drop foot, cutting shapes, and hybrid shuffle branch. So to have better detail and in-depth information, that's going to come soon. But as we work on this, we'll be releasing the project to the public so people be able to see it as it gets released. So a tree exists, multiple trees even. It's not just, you know, Melbourne Shuffle didn't create shapes. We know that. We're not trying to be, you know, pushing alternative history like some people. We
yeah.
just want to put the truth out there and be like, look, we understand some of these things have influenced each other, and ultimately you can see here this network, they all touch, like all four of the dots link up. So they all influenced each other. It's just they didn't create each other. Like shapes and shuffling, they started as two, but then they've merged into their branches have now intertwined, and that's where we've got hybrid shapes. So that's like that's pretty much where we're at today. We've got this intertwined tree that's now wrapped in itself going up together, but it's not going to keep going that way if people keep trying to splice shit onto it.
Yeah. I have a question. Do you think history will repeat itself even though like this time around there's such a big like outlet for it, like especially with social media today too? Like do you really think it will like die out if we keep doing this?
Well, you'll stop getting attendees.
Okay.
That's that's the if that's not the definition of it dying, I don't know what would be. But that's uh, to me, it would the same thing again. Like free steps by no means is it's free steps not dead. Free step has competitions and tournaments still, but you've seen what happened to it. So
Yeah.
all it's going to do is alienate certain people from the scene, and you know, Melbourne Shuffle, I would say Melbourne Shuffle scene is dead in Australia. There's still some shufflers. There's always going to be shufflers. It just, shit will return to the underground. Nothing will ever truly die, but the scene as they know it will definitely die. If they
Okay.
continue to just push their shit, all they're gonna get is their people. They're not gonna get Poland. Like Poland's now decided to bar them. They're not gonna get Americans in these things if they consistently show nepotism to be the reason as to who takes the cake.
Yeah, it finally clicked for me. Damn, that's all you had. The way that you said it,
Yeah.
it finally clicked, I feel like.
Yeah, I'll
Was
understand that they'll
very
probably still
informative.
carry it on. I get that. They'll probably
Okay,
still carry it on, but you will stop having global attendees and you'll stop having
yeah,
attendees from other styles. You'll just have your shit. You know what I mean?
okay,
Like their
heard
shit, not your
that.
shit, but yeah, that shit. That's what I
Yeah,
mean.
Yeah,
that's what we are worried about.
yeah,
Because like for me, it's a occurring event. Like because I've seen it happen before. That's what it is. For me, it's like the
Exactly.
final chapter of shuffling,
Yep.
pretty much.
Every
Like
single time.
TSL, yes, like it just happened so many times in history before.
It gets to the
Like
yeah,
competitive level and then it just dies. It dies out again and then it
exactly.
comes back as something new.
yeah. And there's
Like
so much hype for the specific tournament too. Like, I could definitely see how it's only gonna get Spanish shufflers the more it goes on like that, especially after this happened with Poland.
Hmm. Well, even the
Huh.
girl that got through, the single Polish shuffler that got through, even she said she won't go back.
Mm,
yeah, exactly. Like it's funny because she's not like it shuffling is not a hobby for her, right? She's a dance instructor. So imagine her coming back with her like students, and obviously she have workshops for shuffling and cutting shapes.
yeah,
And and like you come back and you have to explain all fucking this, like what just
yeah,
happened, like and then you have people that gonna get confused, and like some people gonna be pushed back because of this of what is happening or whatever, like, and we gonna lack of new people that come in and learn this dance, and it's gonna die out. And that's like because I really seen it happen like before, like at least in Poland. I don't know like how it was around the world, but we had very small number of people dancing, and because other people didn't want to like they were gatekeeping the information, all that stuff, then the number of people even decreased even more. And then because of the LMFAO, like that's how you say it, the fucking commercial American song or whatever, like it got popular again, and then we had more people, but the people that came in were very confused. What is shuffling? Like, what is even shuffling? Like, they thought the guys in the video were shuffling, and we had to like explain it to them, like correct the things that they were like had this idea about.
And
After
these
that,
same
I
things
think,
happened again with workshops.
yeah, and yeah, exactly. And for me, even after that, it was the Instagram trends, kind of like, because Instagram was like the new big thing that you posted videos there, because YouTube died and everything, and everybody was posting shit on YouTube. So everybody moved to Facebook and Instagram, and then you had like that. Instagram is a fucking cauldron of like girls sharing soft porn pictures and everything, like, and you had those like girls that were cutting shapes, but they had a lot of views, and the people that shuffled actually couldn't share their videos because nobody could see them, or it was like kind of how you
Dominated the
say it.
algorithm for a time. Like if you typed hashtag
Yeah,
shuffle,
exactly.
all you would see
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
just bikinis one after another. It was like you wouldn't
Yeah,
see
like
any other
even right
varieties.
now, you can scroll through Instagram, and I keep seeing this shit. I have only like meme pages and few shufflers. Like I keep seeing this shit. Like, so that was like the next event for me, and this now is like the fucking last chapter basically, because I see like all those things combined together, and you have TSL.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Shuffle
drama that went
final.
unresolved for so many years because these things were discussed, but they were never resolved. Even the conflicts between Melbourne
Exactly.
and America, I tried to repair that, and I feel like I did for for the most part. I mean, you've signed it yourself, the PhD flag that I gave Josh. That for me was Melbourne's gift to America as like not as a peace treaty or anything like that, but as a physical gift from Australia to America as a unification, being like
Yeah.
this is what I want to represent the unification and the respect that you guys have for like the birthplace. Like, and everyone that signed it, I only asked people to sign it if they had respect for Melbourne or even knew about it or had the came up to me and asked me about it. I'm like, oh yeah, come sign this. That to me, the flag symbolizes the unification of the shuffle world. So, you know, the more numbers and the more countries we have on that, the better. I'm sure it's going to be completely covered one day. You probably won't even be able to see it properly, but like that's going to be a relic of time one day. Like that'll be a relic of shuffle history, and that is pretty much what I've set my mission on this dance to do, is to I don't know if what we do with the shuffle timeline will end up in the Australian National Archives or something one day. Who knows? It could potentially happen. Gary Shepherd was the first shuffle historian that we know of, and he's since passed. But his work and his research and his website has been archived by the Australian National Archives and the library, and you can still go on an archived version of his website. And all the information is still there, and it's a ton of things we haven't even published to the public yet or discussed, like the Celtic roots of stomping and a whole range of things. He's got the knowledge from the 90s because he was there from like literally 1990. He was there the day that they pretty much like called it Melbourne Shuffle for the first time. He was around with all the first crews that were running shit, the first earliest illegal raves. Anyway, to cut the long story short about Julian Assange, he was a shuffler himself, and he was actually part of the early Melbourne rave scene. So like hackers, you know, techno
All
wizards,
the
as some
illegal shit.
people like, yeah, all the illegal shit. But yeah, like techno wizards, as some like boomer Australians call them, techno wizardry. Yeah, it's that's the type of people it attracted. Then it was more open-minded, liberty loving and freedom loving individuals that were expressive people. They were artists. Every single one of them were artists in their own regard. They all had their own niche creative things. And I feel like that's the same thing that's carried on through shuffling as we've gone on. But as it's progressed, it's just got kept as it's got more and more commercial, it's just got worse and worse and worse in that. It's only nosedived since it got commercialized. Not saying that the dance itself's nosedived, but it's just gotten further into commercialism rather than
It's like hip hop.
yeah.
Like at least I see similarities here because right, like hip hop was shit on. Like hip hop was bad. It was a bad thing, bad music, bad influence because it was about drugs and all that stuff, right? And now we have it so much commercialized that
Now
you
it's
know,
the
like
biggest pop.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And what I'm trying to see here is like future. You know, like if we go this path, imagine you have like your favorite shuffler, you buy you know his merch and his tutorials and everything, and it's played everywhere because you know it's so stupid, but fuck, at least that's how I see it.
Yeah, I hear
It's
you.
just
Yeah. And
like I feel like the more money gets involved, it just
yeah,
decreases the actual value of the whole thing, like the culture, I guess.
agreed. Very much so agreed.
Yeah, a lot of them seem to be quite out of touch with just the average income of most societies, I guess. They just, yeah, way out of touch with this. Some of the prices I've seen of things have just boggled my mind. Oh, truly.
Yeah, oh my fuck,
Like,
like I
as much as
like
we want to
Gaara
be
sent me
unique.
some links. I would never dream of like this kind of money, like for this money I could like get my shit, like my life together,
Yeah.
bro. Like it was like fucking
Literally,
Me
dude.
too, man.
no cap. Yeah, like the biggest price I think it was like $400 for like
Yeah.
1 year membership or
Even
something
more
like
than
that.
that in some regards. Some of them it's even worse. Or
I mean,
they'll
yeah,
put
I
like a
saw
starter
a
price and then it's like, yeah, 2,000 or but it's so and so for this amount. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
where
Like
do we
that
get the
would never
value?
slide in dance style.
No, especially not
And I
people that
think
have just come into it either.
no, not at all. And I think it's really shitty to take advantage of people that are trying to learn something. Like I get people are trying to make a living off of it, but I think there's much
There's a way
better
to do
ways.
it.
There's a way to do it, and there's a way to stick to the value of one, what you're teaching, and also the value of other people's, like wallet. Because this is crazy. One time I saw $555 for, I think it was like a bunch of videos to be sent or something, like tutorials. And I'm just like, do you?
What
What
the
in the
fuck?
fuck? Like, so
Oof.
that's
Yeah,
like, what in the fuck is that? I don't know.
exactly.
Shit, I could go on a cruise for that much money. Damn.
It's
I'm
plenty
saying,
for
like,
around the halfway around the world.
Yeah, for real. Like, that's a trip to Spain right there.
I mean, like, the irony of this is just, like, because I guess people are so lazy to look for information that they can't find it, I guess. So
Ah,
there is some, like, customers there that, like, people create this kind of videos and they find the market because of it, like, because there's just people are lazy, I guess. Like, there's just, for me, there's this one explanation for it, I guess. I don't know.
here's a good explanation. Yeah, I think people just want to learn it quick and they see what they see first and they jump on it instead of going down the route that I had to go down and a lot of other people had to go down because there wasn't stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just like flooded, like you said. I feel like it's flooded with the same thing nowadays.
Yeah, and also you have those kind of TikTok dance trends and everything, right? So
TikTokification.
yeah, exactly. Like TikTokification of shuffling, basically, because you have those trends, and like, if like some guy even from Spanish community said to me that if you don't follow the trends, then you're like not good. Like you have to follow the trends to be good at what they are doing. That's at least what he told me.
If we followed the trends, I wouldn't be shuffling anymore.
If I
Yeah,
followed
exactly.
I wouldn't be here
Like
anymore.
it's kind of crazy to think
Facts.
about it, because when there was lack of internet, the shuffling was doing very good. Then there's too much internet, and we just have this shit, bro. What the fuck?
I mean, evolution.
I mean, just food for thought, but
I think
I'm just
the lazy answer is just giving them the benefit of the doubt. I think we're pretty, not to make no pun intended, but we're pretty on the money here, with their motivations behind a lot of this. I think whether they've got an agenda to push a certain style over other ones, that's a subjective thing. But I think definitely the financial side of things, that's pretty concrete here, even just with what's been expressed. I mean, if you've got a whole dossier, man. If you've got even more information regarding financial side of things, like it would probably even elaborate more on this. But that's where I think a lot of it is rooted, and especially with the people that have, like I said, they have no, it's like they're completely lost touch with the average income of everywhere around the world, I guess. But for even just if they were taking American customers, most American customers, I'm sure, probably couldn't afford even $200 lessons. So I know
yeah.
sure as shit couldn't in Australia. So like
Imagine a
hundred
child coming
hundred
up to this
dollars
guy.
is steep. Like I mean, even to go and see a movie these days, you're paying like over $50. So even things like that, most people would be second guessing whether they're going to do shit like that. So um, yeah, it's greed ultimately from what we've observed. Um, people
How
throwing
much I
like
can learn for $1,
yeah
you know?
yeah. Well, actually, funny you say that. No, like me and Angelo, after seeing the things we have, and
Oh yeah, true. I remember. Yeah.
yeah, we will be working on a professionalized rocking course. Even if it can be used as a blueprint for teachers that want to be able to give the right resources to their students and the correct techniques and the theory and history, everything. Then it's going to be there for people, but we aren't going to be coming into the market charging hot dollars for it. It's going to be a donation based thing. So people can pay whatever they quote as a fair price. It can be $1. I don't care. If someone's bought it for $1, it all the power to them. I don't have any intention on profiting off the dance. I never did. But at this point where people are continuously saying, oh, like, you know, the people who want to pay for it, like, you got to provide it. Basically, they're just saying, like, well, do it better. If I'm so shit, do it better. So I guess we're going to do it better. I've got the degree behind me to structure coursework. I've got the degree and the work experience having worked as a teacher, and with a pretty diverse group of students. So I've got a pretty good understanding, and I've taught multiple people shuffling over the years as it is. I've already done one-on-one tutoring. I've done that shit. But the difference is we didn't charge for it in a lot of the years. It was until people would demand. They're like, no, I want to pay you for your time. I'm like, I guess I've got to provide a way to do that. So we're going to work on a professional rocking course, no bullshit, straight to the point, and provide the resources where people can learn things that we wouldn't be able to teach, or we feel like we should credit to that person rather than having to reinterpret ourselves. So we want to put that out there, and I said it's going to be a donation-based payment. So people will probably just like pirate at this shit anyway. Like one person will pay $1 and then just share it amongst everyone. But if that happens, so be it. So long as the information gets out there, and then if it ends up getting regurgitated and taught and charged out the arse for it, then that's on them. The day that their students find that that information was available to them for $1, they'll flip their lid. So we're providing the alternative solution and trying to correct the record a bit with it. So on top of that, it can be tutoring with both myself and Angelo as well. Like if someone feels like they're not confident in something, we can help them and talk them through that. This is stuff we've always offered over the years to people if they just asked. Like I said, I will drop whatever I'm doing at the time to teach someone if they ask me. But all they have to do is do that. Just ask. If you can't afford something, or you don't want to contribute something, you don't have to. We've never asked for that. So I just felt the donation-based course is probably the route to go for this, and yeah, screw over some of these grifters.
I think
to put it
Gaara
lightly,
is just doing
snake
God's
oil,
work at this
snake
point
oil
because,
salesmen.
goddamn.
Although there are some individuals that like want to learn from certain people and they'll pay
Oh yeah,
whatever.
that's guaranteed. Yeah, they're gonna
That's
want to
like,
learn from an influencer regardless.
yeah,
But for the
I think
people that
that's
want to learn the real deal,
yeah. I had finished saying what I was saying. I was just saying that like I think where people would rather take it from, you know, someone that they watch or someone that is their favorite for winning XYZ, or just like having someone that you'd rather learn from. I think that's a huge thing that has to do with this. As to why people aren't coming to the actual resource or
Yeah.
source. Yeah.
I think it's also the fact too that they don't give them that. So like they might want to learn. It's like one thing to learn from these people, but that's kind of what we're trying to correct. Is I don't care who teaches it, so long as they've provided resources so their students can learn further if they happen to have taught them incorrectly or not given them enough information in some cases. So that's literally all we're asking for from these people, and like we'll provide an alternative route for people to get this information, but like it's going to be there. Like if they want to learn from it and add it to their stuff, by all means, that's what we've been saying to do from the start. But when there's existing tutorials and they've pretty much taken it like script for script, frame for frame almost, of some stuff that was pretty sacred in Australia in terms of tutorials and things, it's kind of a kick in the teeth, especially when we comment, oh, you know, did you get this from so and so? For instance, the half beat slide is being one example. A half beat slide that was basically, it wasn't obviously created by Brenton, but he pretty much popularized it, and he was the first person that I know of to do the tutorials. And when this said person got access to the We Dance Hard DVDs through their crew, them, not just her, but them as a crew started to translate some of those tutorials without saying where they got it from. So that's what I don't agree with, is when they've fished and gone kind of in strange avenues to get those DVDs in the first place and not even knowing who they're talking to. It was a very, very strange situation I was experiencing when I was talking to this person. But yeah, to then go on and
Oh,
reteach what yeah, to then go on and reteach this stuff without providing the source material is just, yeah, I don't agree with that. That's people could say
yeah.
poo-poo on me and call me a hater all they want, but I just think if you've learnt something like that, you should probably say who you learnt it from. Like someone related it to martial arts and boxing. It's like saying, oh, if I did MMA moves in a boxing fight, I'd be disqualified. Like, you know, if they want to be, like, as you said, they're comparing it to sports. Well, all right, if we're going to start comparing it to sports, how about we do compare it to sports and then see the standards that are set? Because there are very specific rules set in these things, because you can't throw a kick in boxing because it's not in the boxing foundations, and it's not in the rule set. So even if you have to like outlaw, if that's what we're going to end up getting to, if we're going to be treating it as a competitive sport, maybe we should be getting some competitive rule sets.
Yeah, I wrote this down in my notes actually. I was like, where, like, if we want to be in a competition and we're going to be competitive, like, there's obviously going to be a set of rules that come along with that.
Hmm.
But like, where are, like, what are they? Do we know them collectively? Like, can someone state them? So I feel like they're just like free ball and everything right now, and it's just like you show up wherever and you gotta
Well,
hope
uh,
you got a lot.
pretty much. It was
Yeah.
it was a it was a while ago for you now, Samurai. But like, what was like a lot of the rule set for Russia when you went and judged? Like, how did they run shit when you were there?
Oh, I mean, this is like the funny thing. Like there are some kind of unspoken rules, right?
Right?
Like
That's where
like,
we've all
you
fell.
don't have to even say them. Exactly. Like you don't even have to say them because everybody knows. Like you go to shuffling tournaments and it's gonna be shuffling. Like you can mix everything. But if everybody looks at you like, just like it's you already know that you're not doing good. Like if somebody can look at you and you're like fucking doing this all this shit rather than shuffling, then you're disqualified. Like you're not even in this tournament anymore,
Yeah.
And nobody even had to say this because everybody was on the same page. Everybody like that creates this community is, understand this the one thing. And we have now this kind of confusion where, like we already talked about this, that some people made up some rules that we don't even know about, like it's completely new. And everybody is just so confused about it. They don't want to explain it, like
Yeah,
where we are at, you know?
yeah, and
And
it's
when I
lame.
was, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
exactly. No. Like when I was in Russia, they had different kind of competition. Like they were like solo tournament, and there was team tournament, and there was some choreography stuff, but it was still shuffling, and there had to be no rules. Like even in Polish tournaments, like if somebody was like because we had a lot of meetings with jump stylers, they were, they were there and they also tried to compete with us. Even though their fundamentals weren't that good, they still kind of did okay. They mixed a little bit of jump style and it was fun. Like there was even, I think there was one guy that won whole shuffling tournament, and originally he wasn't even shuffler, like he was jump styler. It was no problem because he was doing it that good. And now we have this fucking confusion about this thing, like, and for me it's so obvious, but for them it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, why is it so
Yeah.
hard to see? It's like they literally got like blinders on. I don't get it. They
Yeah.
see it as hate, but we're not hating. We're just literally identifying what we're seeing with our own eyes.
Literally.
We're witnessing
Literally.
it, and everyone. It's not just us and being like cherry picking and being from Melbourne Shuffle and whatever and hating. Like you yourself have seen it, and I had a few like shapers and things like what I'd said because I didn't say anything that out of line as far as I'm concerned. It, what I said was facts. It's been
Yeah,
facts for as long as I can remember.
like the irony is that like the shit started because of Polish shufflers, and we Polish shufflers, we have to defend the origins of Melbourne Shuffle that is Australian, like not even Australian people came forward and started this shit. It's like us defending someone's other history. Like,
And that's
what the
why
fuck?
Yeah.
it's why it hits home for me as well. Like because we don't have the people that are like dedicated to that point to speak up anymore. We've been that beaten down, and not just as shufflers, but as a country. Australia is not in a fucking good way. So no one's even got the motivation to fight for their own country, their own family, even with what's recently happened. Um, it's just not. It's not good. So they demoralized not just as shufflers but as countrymen. Australians are usually quite depressed. So if you meet another Australian, ask them if they're all right,
Bro,
because
same
we're
with
going
Polish
through some
people. That's
shit,
why I
man.
think we have so much in common.
Big time. But
Yeah.
we relate in a lot of ways like that. I mean, Australia is not as conservative as it once was, but the core values of what Australia once was, it was pretty conservative, and it's how it's been. Like, even the OGs that were pretty like left leaning, I guess you could say, if we want to get political about it, everyone still like no one butted heads over political differences. You People could go and vote red in the ballot box or vote blue, and it doesn't change them being able to be friends and come together as a community and enjoy dance and enjoy the music. That shit's never mattered until now, when people start bringing it up, where
Yeah.
it's not even relevant. It's not
Yeah.
even like I can't even call myself a nationalistic Australian because what Australia is as a entity, I want to say, I don't even agree with. I don't even fly the Australian flag, right? That's the Eureka flag. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time, but I'm sure we'll make a post about it on the Shuffle timeline eventually because it's relevant to the Celtic roots of shuffling. So it's a whole nother discussion. But what that flag represented was freedom from oppression of all things and the unification of people from all walks of different nations. You had Chinese people, Irishmen, Scots, Brits, like Aussies, you name it. Whoever was in Australia at the time during the gold rush, they were pretty much part of that rebellion. They banded together against an oppressive taxation from the royals, and it's too long of a story to get into, but the 1776 with America, and they seceded from the UK and had their war against them. That was what almost happened with that. That was our version of trying to break away from the British Empire and all these things. So all of this stuff has relevance with the roots and the origins of shuffle and the people that created it because they've been historically oppressed right from the beginning of time, and that's what Gary Shepherd's history and all of his research even showed us. Like he went over the slaves that were sent to Australia, the white slaves, mind you, Celtic slaves were sent to Australia, and their culture, their tradition, their dances, all these things was suppressed by the government. It was literally outlawed by law. So it was it was literally a rebellious thing to be stomping in the first place. And we even read it in the newspapers. A lot of the newspapers were complaining about the stomp dance. So it's always been like anti-authority, anti-commercial. It's always wanted its roots in the underground. And I know nothing stays underground forever, but you can't just then forget about it just 'cause the time's passed. Like it's still got relevance to this day. And yeah, I just wish people would be learning from what's happened so far, like even just with styles and how they came to be, studying it in the way that me and Luha have. I mean, we don't have any real access to things that nobody else can get access to. we've only got access to the same things that everyone else is able to get access to. It's simply through asking, reaching out to people and be like, look, I wasn't a part of this time, but can you please share XYZ? I've got this and this question that could help me and help our community with where it's at today. I know you don't agree with what it looks like now, and you don't even think it's shuffle anymore, but how would you approach blah blah blah? And me and Luha have gone to like the real old heads. They call themselves stompers pre-Melbourne Shuffle, and they're very very arrogant, to say the least. They very minimal with the amount of information they want to let out. So that's why it's so difficult for us to actually cover a lot of the really old shuffling. So that makes it even more difficult in our historical pursuits, because like some of the only people that bothered to study it and to document it aren't with us anymore. So um, it's a difficult task, but anyone's capable of doing it. It's just we've decided to take up the belt, like just take the wheel. Like someone's got to drive this shit, and it needs to be documented because it can't just be in my head. Like if I perish tomorrow, it's you know
Yeah,
it's gone.
yeah,
We've lost a lot
true.
of media over the years to bullshit. So, and it's the same thing again. That's part of the big part of the reason as to why we started this in the first place. Is we don't want to see erasure of shuffle history. Period. Whether that be archiving videos or discussing history like this. But it's crucial, I think, to not just the evolution of the dance, but to the health of the community. Because if we don't have these
Yeah.
discussions, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And if we never, squash beefs or discuss things, talk things out, people would realize that they're not a lot of the things that we would be labeling each other as. Like we'd have more in common than you realize. So it's just whether or not people want to come to the table and talk about it. So that's
Yeah.
a handout to whoever wants to be able to come on and have a chat about things, but it's got to happen at some point. Otherwise, yeah, it'll get ugly. We've seen it happen. Learn from the mistakes.
Yeah, it's
Like
a
what
very
up?
complex topic.
Yeah, facts though.
Like even just as you mentioned, like I mean, at least for me, it's very hard not to get political, at least to present like what is happening right now with the world around us. It like affects us in some kind of way. Some people, feel some different way. But as you said, like there, like when I was starting, I was like maybe I don't know 13 or 14. Like politics didn't really matter to me or whatever. And right now, I see that people are divided because of opinions about something, even when you just go there and dance on a meetup. And also what you mentioned is that the politics and that you have like people are so afraid to talk right now and have like conversation in face to face in person. So it kind of limits the interaction, that because how much you can learn from shuffling videos, like if somebody can teach you in a person, it's gonna be much better experience for you. You're gonna learn faster. That's why at least for me, maybe for you also, it took so long to like perfect the running man and Tstep, because you
Yeah.
had to learn it by yourself.
Wasn't like you
Exactly,
said, it
right?
wasn't, yeah, literally because I did it by myself. Like from 2007 until 2012, I honestly felt like I was pretty dog shit. Like at the dance, when I recorded it, I was never satisfied with it. It didn't look right. It just looked terrible. And until I met Angelo and he corrected my form, because I only ever had people to learn from that were like from either way fucking back to the point where the foundations hadn't even been laid yet, and there was just like some back steps and shit, and they called it stomping still. That's talking about my uncle, or someone that's also from like close to my area, but they were kind of noob. Like they had actually started later than me, so I was like, well, what's he like? I can learn from him, but he's not doing it really any better than I was. So I didn't get any good until I met Angelo, and he corrected my form because he actually took the time and was dedicated all those years. Whereas by 2009, I took a break. I didn't come back to it till 2 years later in 2011 when I saw meetups were still happening. I was like, oh shit, I got hype. I didn't realize it was still around because it was by 2009. If you were still shuffling or you even wore fat pants or anything, if you wore a PhD hoodie, you got bullied. Like one of my core memories of one of my hoodies is like my 10th anniversary hoodie. There was a particular person that said commented on it saying, "Is this a joke?" When I put it up as like I took a photo with it and it was in my DP, and they said, "Is this a joke?" Because it was 2013 or something like this. Like
Bro,
4
you don't
years
even know
later,
when yeah. Go on.
it's just saying like 4 years later after a trend had died, and if you're wearing a, it's like you wouldn't be caught dead in a PhD hoodie after 2009. Basically, that's the level it got to. You just get absolutely reamed for it.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to say that I had similar experience, but something different. Like when I started dancing, like people in my town were laughing at me, like, you call this dance? Like, what the fuck is that? You know, like you're looking like a crazy person, you know? And right now, like you see it everywhere, like literally everywhere. And it's like even my mom said, like, "Oh, you're like shuffling or something," and I'm like, "How do you even know this?" Like
Yeah.
she's she's biggest boomer I ever know. So
Yeah, well,
and
same
like
thing for my mom. She sent me a cutting shapes video. She's like, "Oh, they're shuffling like you," and I'm like,
yeah, even my girlfriend's mom, she learned cutting shapes and shuffling because of TikTok. And it's just crazy to me. Like I understand that this whole media thing is good and bad, have positive and negatives.
Yeah, I see
And
the new dances. I see the positives from it. Same thing from LMFAO. I try not to hold the grudge with the LMFAO shit because it created so many new dances and brought so many new eyes to the dance. But so long as they have the resources available to them to learn from what actually the real shit is.
yeah, and also what I wanted to ask Autumn uh, about like the Spanish scene, because you said you're friends with them, right? Like with at least some of them, right? Like, oh, like, what do you think? What would be the best way to show them, like get through them, like make them understand, you know?
Yeah.
Because like I don't know I don't know them at all. Like I never been to Spain or whatever. So I'm
Mhm.
just wondering, like maybe you have some kind of idea about it.
So from what I gathered is they're very headstrong people, just like we are for our culture that we came from and what we learned from. And I genuinely think that just like because they're from there and they grew up with that as to what it is now, and not in Australia, not in Malaysia, not in the United States, like that is what they truly believe. So I think trying to make anyone understand something is going to be impossible. We can only, like, even trying to get through to people, like we can't always get through to people. We can't always make people understand anything that they
Yeah.
don't want to understand. And I think some of them just truly wholeheartedly believe that what they are doing is what they want to do forever. I don't know how some of them feel on terms of like respecting history or like foundations or just like their viewpoint of that. I see that they don't do it a lot, but I don't know how they feel about it. I would have to ask them, which I think they'd be open to conversation. I know they'd be open to conversation, but I think I've also questioned that same thing to myself. I'm like, how can I get them to just like take the glasses off and
Yeah.
see my perspective for 1 second, or just like put yourself in my shoes, see me viewing y'all. And it just comes down to like, I'm not going to be able to make anyone see out of my glasses or out of my eyes because they just have eyes of their own. And that's something that I respect. And that's why I think this is, like I've just been saying, this is such a broad thing to discuss because it comes down to a point where accountability has to be taken on some end at some point of like, yo, there's like things being blatantly ignored. There's things being blatantly, like, not even acknowledged that are a huge, huge, huge core value of what we're like doing together. So I would just say probably just more conversation with them, more time together. They value time together. They value being with other dancers. I think it's possible that there could be a level that we reach more within them if, you know, only if they allow us to. Like, it's just
I
the
mean,
balance.
yeah, I understand. Like the person that they have to want to understand.
Yeah.
Like yeah. But at the same time, I'm just thinking like I know it would be nice to have conversation with them, but I feel like we're gonna clash, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
there's a
that's
lot
kind
of
of partly why I wanted to get this before we organized a world conference call.
yeah. I mean, I think that a conference call could be good. Like, that's one of the things that I mentioned under that post. But at the same time, like, egos gotta drop. Like, and I'm speaking as a collective right now. Like, the egos and the possession.
True.
That's a word that I keep feeling come up. Possession of something, not even gatekeep, but just like taking something and making it like, this is this way, this is the only way that it is, and this is how it's going to be for the rest of our life here. And just like pushing that on everyone. I just don't feel like that's the right way to do it. And like, even my Spanish friends, I can talk to them all day about this and still have respect for them, but like, I highly disagree with the way that they're pushing it forward, because it's just like, they're not paying any mind to a lot of the craft that can be paid attention to, and that is, the craft in general.
Yeah.
And like a conversation with them, like, yeah, it could go nowhere, it could open more doors, it could not. It's just kind of like we're gonna have to find out through time, and hopefully, like, the more we all talk to each other and do things like this and just have people from different places, like, it'll eventually weed itself out. But things need to be exposed, not even hated on, but things need to be communicated about. And if a lot of people feel a certain way about something and everyone's staying quiet, like, we got to dive into that shit, because I don't know, it's important, because if we want to go anywhere, we got to go somewhere. So
We can be making mention of shit fuckery without quote calling someone out for a battle as well. So none of the three of
Yeah.
us, or even Luha for that matter, is calling out anyone we've mentioned for a battle, because I don't give a fuck about battles, man. I don't care who's better. You guys are probably all better dancers than me, because I don't call myself a fucking dancer. I'm a shuffler. There is a difference there, right? You can be a shuffler and a dancer,
Yeah.
but if you're just a shuffler, then that's that, and that's all I am. So I'm not
I
coming
agree.
out and being like, I'm a dancer, blah, blah, blah. Because I can't, like, I'm not comfortable in my other dancers to call myself a professional dancer until I feel confident enough. Like, I didn't even call myself a shuffler until around 2012 when I started to get better. Like, it was almost like an embarrassment thing. If you say you could do something and then you do you show something, you show that you clearly can't. Like, I don't know why people don't have a bit of shame in that if they've got these hyper egos. Like, yeah, how can you do that? Say that you're a shuffler and then not shuffle.
Yeah, I mean, it is, that comes back to the point of like how they view it, and like wherever they're from, how it views it. So I feel like we're just
Yeah,
this
a
loop
big
of like,
residual circle. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like these points, though. There's points to this circle, and like,
Mm. It'd be
I feel
interesting to
like
see where it concludes.
I basically, God, I was just like saying things into my phone earlier. Oh, you can't see it. But I was just like saying things into my phone, just like spinning off of topics. Like, we have to be forward thinking. And I think that was mentioned earlier, like forward thinkers, like actually pioneering the future of things and taking note of the future. Um, I think that's very, very, very important. And a lot of us, this is gonna be super random, but like for me personally, I'll never be able to feel that I know enough about something to like fully state what I can about it unless I go and submerge myself into that something and be within it. And I think that's why, or that's one of the reasons that I went to Spain in the first place, so that I could just like understand what the hype was about, understand it for myself. And even the first year of TSL that I went versus last month, like that year that I grew as a dancer, like I was perceiving just both experiences and both things that I saw there drastically, drastically different. I appreciate them, but you know, there's things that I want to talk about that not only I saw this year, but other people obviously saw, more Americans saw, like, and it's not that we're like talking shit about it or we don't think that it's valid that they do things that way, but there is a specific attitude that I've observed and felt a little bit when bringing up the topic of what we're talking about, and it's kind of just shut down and dismissed in a way, or I just can't get solid like information that backs up their point. And that's what I want. I want like their point. I want their resources. I don't care how they, do this and that. I respect their culture. It's going to be drastically different than mine, and I'm aware of that. But I want the point of what, and like the resources of what they're talking about and where they got it from, why they're doing what they're doing. Because I just feel like it's just like this random off the wall thing right now, or just like some things are.
I mean, all of it I have in my head pretty much because, like, I had those conversations with so many people, and everybody mentioned whatever we were saying here. Like, everybody's on the same page pretty much as we are. Like, it's okay to like evolve this dance and everything, and do this tournament if it's in this kind of a healthy space that shufflers can actually shuffle there and everything. And I mean, all of those topics are connected. That's what I can say. And what I wanted to mention is also that that's why I also ask everyone, what is the goal in shuffling, being good dancer or being good shuffler? Because like Gaara mentioned, that the battling killed the Australian scene, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. As soon
So
as it got competitive, it killed it. It spelled the end for it in Melbourne as well. It was, as you've said it a few times, it's like the end chapter. It's the climax of shuffle, and it's like after that it's finished, and then it just goes back through the
yeah,
cycle
exactly.
again. It's the final chapter usually is the case when it starts to get competitive, and when not just when it starts to get competitive, because Russia and China and these scenes have existed for so long now and been successful for many, many years. When agendas start getting pushed in competition is when it collapses.
Exactly.
That is the concern, because even SHFL, like, they were definitely, the Australian public in general were definitely favouring one style over the rest. And old school at the time had basically been forgotten, even though it was literally like a couple of years before. So some things just get left in the past. I get that, but we're trying to just, yeah, showcase that it's killed multiple scenes beforehand when agendas start getting pushed when it got competitive. It's never been competitive from the get-go, and I'm not saying it doesn't have the potential to be competitive and be fine, because we've seen that it exists. But yeah, it just has to be run correctly, and they have to seriously admit when they are doing these things, because if they're
Yeah.
just trying to uphold a facade and for the sake of profits even, like, that's just, it's so disingenuous. And like we're coming to the table, hands out. Like we're not armed. Like we're not
Yeah.
coming here to fuck you up, man. We're trying to figure out like at the crux what the fuck is causing this issue, because there wouldn't be this many people voicing these problems around the world that I didn't even know Ravenants until like pretty much when all this shit really kicked off. But I knew the
Same,
Ravenants when
bro.
I did yeah, like I knew about them because of the Poland post that we made. But other than that, I was aware of High Flow. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like but these guys are the new gen shufflers and they're shuffle shapers in some regards too. So yeah, and now I've had conversations back and forth with them simply out of drama and controversy. But they're like it's blew my mind that we're all on the same page. When I discussed on the topic of Marbiik, when I discussed with Zigzag about when I had some European shufflers come to me about concerns when he ran workshops regarding. He said that he was just running workshops for basics and stuff, but he did teach some form of history at some point in it, whether he wants to say he did or not. Because they came to me saying that he was essentially downplaying Australia and Melbourne's impact on the dance and the evolution of it and where it stemmed from, and was still just pushing this narrative of like and using one video as his token example of shuffle originating in the UK because it was apparently filmed in '89 at a rave and it looked somewhat like a T shuffle, like it looked somewhat like a T-step.
Yeah, not
And
even
again,
close.
like he's not even thought as well that I've mentioned that it could have been an Australian tourist because I can tell you right now, if I went to the UK, went to a club and started shuffling the way that I do, they will straight away know that I'm from Australia. That always happens and it's happened from the fucking day dot years and years and years ago. Like even it says it in the Melbourne Shuffle documentary. Like people that were around since the '90s, like wherever they've taken around the world, they instantly know they're from Melbourne. That's what it used to be before the internet even was relevant. So it's always been a thing associated to Australia. Even when we've said and credited like Leroy Thornhill from the UK, the prodigy dancer, as having a massive influence over the old school Melbourne Shuffle when it started to evolve from stomping. But they even tried to say that he created Melbourne Shuffle because of how similar his movements are to ours. But Leroy Thornhill, I'd say, is probably my favorite shaper in the world, and he's proper OG. He practically created the fucking art form. But he was a large influence as to why we started doing the Running Man as well, especially.
God, I even have a high follow hoodie on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, nice.
I will send you this shit for archives.
Yeah, hell yeah. I've got that's the thing, man. I've got so many man, my rave merch collection, what's left of it that I haven't given away to friends. Yeah, it's like bits and pieces from all over the place and from all kinds of eras. Like I've got shit that dates back before I even shuffled. That's like 2004. So yeah, I'd love to have bits of history like that. Like having a Flow Complex shirt to me is like, thank fuck I got one.
I got a hoodie
Yeah.
before that
Yeah.
shit, yeah. I'm gonna like put it in a frame and hang it on my wall.
So I'll show you this really quick.
Friend in Polish shuffling community that is like super fixated on being old school. I don't know if you know him, but his name is his nickname is Żółwiu, which is turtle in English.
Okay.
I think he have Instagram, but bro, you need to fucking see him. I'm gonna send some
Alright.
videos to you of
Sounds
him,
good.
bro. He's like he was the youngest shuffler in our community, and he only likes the old school like, and he dances on rave festivals, on speakers, all that shit,
Nice.
you know,
Yeah, well,
bro.
that was the thing of what the early shufflers were actually pretty much all professional dancers. Like they were coming from well, obviously a lot of them were stompers as it was, like that was the dance. But they had backgrounds in all sorts of things like ballet, especially it was like pretty common with the women. Um, a number of different dances, but even just like going off ballet and things like Northern Soul and shit like that that had influenced the stomping in the first place. that's what brought a lot of the variety back then, and put them, like, made it look professional and put them on a stage, like you said, having them dancing on speakers, like dancing on podiums and all sorts of things, was because they were professional dancers that were professional shufflers as well. So,
Yeah.
like, credit where credit's due. I think those spots, like dancing at festivals or getting paid to dance for it or whatever, I would say makes sense to reserve for people that are professional dancers and shufflers. I mean, I wouldn't want to be getting paid for shuffling on a thing, because I don't think I could put on a performance like a professional dancer could, because that's the job that's requested of you. But um, it's in Melbourne, we've always had people dance on the stage and not have to like be insanely good or be a professional dancer, but that usually was given to those types of people. They were usually always
True.
propped up because they were the ones usually innovating it. So yeah, as I said, credit where credit's due. It is usually the professional dancers that are taking it to new heights or adding new things and stuff. But there's always been, as you said, like this unspoken rule basically in shuffling. Like there is this line and you don't cross it. And whether or not that's a 50% rule on a run of foundations or something, of just shuffle moves, period, like so be it. But it's been an unspoken rule for as long as time. Like even before the shuffle was what it was now. And then basically have this as a like port to call, be like, guys, conference call, let's go. Like, hit us up. Let's get a group chat going or something, and then we'll make it happen. Because like this, like Autumn's not the first person we've spoken to about this stuff. It's not the first person that's come to us wanting to speak about this stuff. So providing a platform to be able to do that, and I feel like Discord's pretty like it's been decent so far to be able to just bring everyone into a chat like this. So I think if we just got a big group call going at some point soon, um, basically we'll put this out, see how the community receives it, see what people want to say, and let them have their say, and we'll do like a follow-up call with people giving their input, because like they'll just probably see this as more hating from OGs, and as you said to Autumn, you don't care if you get cancelled or something from it. Like I don't feel like with the stuff that's been stated that this is cancelable information, for fuck's sake, like at all. It's
Yeah.
really not. So
Yeah.
people just stating their opinions, their observations, their perceptions of things, how we see the things going the way they are because of what we've experienced and seen happen to our own communities. So, like, my little brother is someone that says, don't just tell me about your life stories and expect me to learn from them because I have to make my own mistakes. Well, in some cases, that's not always the right attitude to have in life, because you don't have to make certain mistakes when there's no real
Yeah.
purpose to make it. Really, there's no
Yeah.
benefit to make that when it's been exemplified and shown multiple times before.
Right in front of you. Yeah.
It's great to have you speaking out, because for like it's really hard to get people come forward and speak, because like I spoke to so many people and they're afraid of getting canceled or hated on or whatever, and I mean it's very hard to get anybody pretty much right now.
Yeah. And I, like, even in the beginning, like, I was sweating because I was like, oh, what if I say this or that? And you even said I was saying some very, like, open-ended, vague remarks. And
Yeah.
I'm like, honestly, yes, because that's, like, I feel so in the middle, while at the same time I have such a deep opinion of what I believe and what my opinion is. And just, like, taking the time to talk to other people that also are speaking out about it. Like you were down for a call, and I love that. Gaara and Luha, like they inspire me to continue to speak my story, and are now providing a platform so that we can share it with other people. So I mean, the fear of getting canceled is always there, but I kind of have just come to the conclusion after coming back from Spain and just kind of like getting a little bit more settled down with my life, you know, like things are changing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have to move forward with, you know, what I spend most of my time doing, and that is dancing and traveling and meeting all these shufflers and dancers and submersing myself in this. So I need to speak my truth. I need to stand up for my truth that I believe, and whoever, you know, decides to cancel or, you know, have this viewpoint of that I'm hating or this or that, like, so be it. I
Yeah.
can't waste my time thinking that I can please everyone, you know, because that's where
Yeah.
this has happened. This is how this has happened. Like, people are afraid of upsetting someone or this and that, and it's like, we're not going to be able to please everyone. We're not going to be able to view the same thing all the time, but if we talk about it and speak to each other like civil human beings, I feel like we can get somewhere. And, you know, the cancelables.
Yeah, it's
Fuck.
hard. Yeah, it's hard not to. It's hard really not to, offend people. And
Yeah.
like, obviously, some people will be offended because you're talking about something that they value and all that stuff. And obviously, speaking about some like specific people, like like Oscar, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very hard topic, obviously. Yeah, and
Very, very hard topic. And
The question I had before was whether or not they're going to platform us. Like, it's one thing for us to platform them and have them on, but is it really going to do anything if they aren't discussing it amongst themselves, like amongst their community as well? If they don't open the discussion, like as I've mentioned before about Marbiik, I was meant to be on his podcast over 2 years ago now to correct the record on that UK origins over Australia statement and his funny little animation edit of crossing out Australia and shit. It's like, oh, but I got yeah, people can suck it up, princess type of attitude, but yeah, I can't just let that shit slide when we're meant to have like lined something up. Even if he didn't have me on, I don't care. Don't even put my name to shit. Just put the information I've given you out there because you're deliberately withholding it from the public. That's what is infuriating for me. Because, like you said, what's the reason for that? It's either ignorance, laziness, or she agreed because it hurts the bottom line. If they can show the students resources that does what they taught them better than them, why would they keep paying this person?
Yep.
I don't know, like I've said pretty much what I'm saying here to my friends in Spain, and I've tried to raise these topics and maybe see like, hey, are you also like, are you able to question this yourself? And like, I'm not devaluing, you know, what they find value in. I would hate if someone did that for me, or if someone did that for the culture that I worked hard to, you know, like experience and have to go through everything that I've went through to be in it. And so like I see so much of their dance community that is pure and positive, and like even in Oscar, like to me he's always been such a kind person, always been a helpful person, has done nothing but want to inform me of how to truly tap into me, and that's something that I can say I hold a lot of respect over. But in the specifics of shuffle dance, I'm just like, that's where things get back and forth and like, you know, up and down. And
Yeah.
even with Marbiik, a lot of things that I disagree with and he disagrees with me on too, but he's open to seeing these point of views. And I wish that I could have experienced one of his workshops aside from the one that was after TSL, so that I could see if there was history like presented, or like just how he was teaching it, because he seems to be the person teaching it in, you know, a specific way. I know Mark Tor does a lot of classes, but he's honestly just doing his own thing around the world, which is great for him. But for those specifically in Spain and touring around Europe or doing this and that, I just have a lot of questions that even I want to ask them, and I will ask them, you know, like after all this is said and done, because I'm curious too, like, are they going to be talking about this within their community, or are they just going to be completely pushing us to the side, like,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know? But
I'm used to being hated on, so I'm not afraid.
Facts.
aw, well, I mean, people, I can't say much about what people think of me, but I definitely
Oh
just
shit.
I
Like you
definitely
will have to get used to being, you know, like people are so mean on the internet, bro. Like for real. Like I saw a
Dude,
guy like
they'll Photoshop you in an SS
yeah,
uniform. You watch. Like they'll put you in an SS uniform and call you a Nazi and yeah.
Here, let me
that's what
fix it
happened
here.
to me, bro.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me, bro.
Thumbnail.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Like I saw a guy, he's on
Wait,
my
really?
old
Someone
account.
actually photoshopped you
Yeah,
in what?
yeah. Like I mean,
Whoa.
what was it? Some guy. I think it was after FTS or something like that. The drama FTS. He sent me like on a messenger on Facebook like my picture that I'm a Jew in a Jewish camp and I'm getting gassed. And I was like,
What the
bro,
fuck?
and yeah. Then I was like,
What?
what the fuck? What I'm supposed to do with this, bro? I just started laughing because it was
Wow.
funny to me, but people are so
Well,
mean,
that's what
bro.
I
You
mean.
don't
Like,
even know.
you're from Poland. You could have actually been someone who, like, had family involved
Yeah,
with that. You could have taken
exactly. My
offense to it. Who
grandparents.
knows?
Yeah, my grandparents were in the war, so.
Hmm.
Like it was crazy to me. I mean, I have dark humor, so I was just fucking dying laughing at it. But you know, like when people are very sensitive, I understand that it's very hard when it comes from a lot of people. It can get overwhelming. I mean, fuck.
I'm
I
excited
mean,
now.
I'm just
Just ideas that come out of yeah.
I
no. Actually, I wanted to say sorry out to him, like if it sounded very like if I had something to say about you because I don't. But I'm just like I'm really worried, like, I mean, I'm used to this shit. I don't know if you are. So, yeah.
What, used to being hated or
Shit
used
on.
to
Yeah.
shit on, yeah.
okay. I mean, for me personally, I like I don't know, I'm 24 years old. I have a lot to focus on other than how people feel about me, and I feel like I finally came to terms because like being from a small town in the country, I didn't really know how to socialize until I went to California. Like I didn't really know how to socialize until I like got out of here and saw that not everyone is this kind, gentle soul that is full of love and grass and
Yeah.
apples and trees. And like I mean it's heartbreaking, but it's not something that I hold a lot of importance to. So if anyone today takes what I've said and, you know, twist it into not the intention that I had it. Like I know I'm not completely educated to talk on everything. I know I've probably said a lot of things that maybe don't even make sense, but I think we're all learning here and you know, I kind of want to see my face plastered onto something creative cuz like fuck it. Like let's get creative. We want to get creative, let's get creative. So I
Yeah.
just have so much love for everyone, and that's all I ever want to present with anything that I talk about the dance, any, you know, community that I go to and I dance with them. I, you know, accept everyone as they are, love everyone as they are, but at the end of the day, I love shuffling and I
Mhm.
love the roots of things because that's such an important thing. Such an important thing to grow from and drift off of. So I'll stand up for what I believe in and that'll be that.
Together
Amen.
strong.
What the fuck is a kilometer? I'll say one more thing in my notes. That we're all dancing with the intention and the love that we can all collectively feel for the way that this type of movement makes us feel. So I feel like the more we stray away from each other and taking the time to understand or just simply acknowledge and hear and feel, the more we stray from that, the more we stray from ourselves. And I just feel like we're such a huge block of talented human beings on this earth that are very spiritual, whether we like it or not. And yeah, we got to get our shit together. We got to start talking to each other, man.
He kind of set the wheels in motion for me to shape my entire like life and worldviews and like how to approach life, like you said, like how to socialize, how to interact with people and live your life. But he said we have to stop consuming our culture, we have to create culture. Don't watch TV, don't read magazines, don't even listen to NPR. Create your own roadshow. The nexus of space and time, where you are now, is the most immediate sector of your universe. And if you're worrying about Michael Jackson or Bill Clinton or somebody else, then you're disempowered. You're giving it all away to icons. Icons which are maintained by an electronic media so that you want to dress like X or have lips like Y or this is shit-brained, this kind of thinking. That is all cultural diversion. What is real is you and your friends and your associations, your highs, your orgasms, your hopes, your plans, and your fears. We're told no. We're unimportant. We're peripheral. Get a degree, get a job, get a this, get a that, and then you're a player. You don't even want to play in that game. You want to reclaim your mind and get it out of the hands of the cultural engineers who want to turn you into a half-baked moron consuming all this trash that's being manufactured out of the bones of a dying world. Where is that at?
We are still here!
Do what you love, do what matters to you and your people. Like, what matters is your experiences. Don't consume culture, create it. So that's, yeah, a big drive as to why I do a lot of these things in the first place.
I think it's also a big drive as to why Spain does a lot of their things in the first place too. So
Yeah.
it's like this bullets right back around.
Yeah.
So I love that. I actually loved that. That was very empowering.
Cheers. It's
Yeah.
not my words,
Yeah.
but yeah, Terence McKenna, shout out to the man, but rest his soul. Legend.
All right, guys, I gotta go because it's 4 a.m. here, 4:20 actually, right now.
Blaze it. Thank you for chatting. It was a pleasure to hear your thoughts and hear your questions, and I look forward to more.
Yeah, it was good chat.
Yeah,
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
we're gonna chat again. Take
For
care,
sure.
guys.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you all, also. Good night.
Night.
Good night.